So we're into 2024, and this is a video for every sign of the zodiac. This is Western tropical astrology. I'm looking at the year ahead from the perspective of a particular sign. Now, I'm really doing it from the Ascendant. So if you know your Ascendant, that's the one to listen into. Looking at this from an equal house perspective. If you've got some skills and you know where all the planets are and angles are in your birth chart, you might want to jiggle the listenings around. So for instance, if you're born right at the end of Scorpio Ascendant, you might find it also useful to listen to Sagittarius Ascendant because of the placements of the planets and stuff. But what I've done is I've selected, I've done a really long recording, and you can see a link to it just up here. But this is a recording for all the big aspects, in particular with the outer planets for 2024. And I spent a good couple of hours laying down what I think is, how the year is shaping up because of the outer planetary aspects. Now, using some of these, I've looked through all of them and thought, okay, which ones are going to work really well for which signs and which ones aren't going to work so well. So ordinarily, when I'm doing a forecast for all 12 signs, I'm looking at all the same things and thinking, okay, how does that work for Gemini? How does that work for Cancer? Looking exactly at the same things. But in this particular reading, every single star sign is being treated differently. So for instance, I think this is a massive year for Geminis, a massive year for Sagittarians, a huge year for Aries. Oh my God, you've got so many big things going on. And also, Capricorn, Aquarius, with the Pluto signs, like the Pluto changing signs quite a bit and having some big aspects. So there's a lot going on, and I'm treating each sign differently. So if you don't know your ascendant, shortly I'll show you a very quick way of how to find out where your ascendant is, and then you can click on the chapter to do with your star sign and just go straight there. I do want to say a couple of things. For each star sign, I'm looking at 3 or 4 uplifting aspects that are happening in 2024, and then 3 or 4 challenging aspects that are happening in 2024. And so it could happen at any time over the year, and I'm sort of explaining why these might uplift you and why these might be a challenge, so that you can have a good idea as to, how you might want to plan your year ahead. But obviously, these are just based on sort of common agreements. So a lot of people think that Chiron aspects and oppositions and Pluto squares and oppositions and stuff like that are uniquely challenging and not good for anyone. There's these kind of basic rules that, if we experience pain and loss and suffering, that might be a really bad thing. For some signs, I think harder, tougher aspects actually work really well for them. So, I just want you to know that although I'm making judgments about how this might work for or against you, or to lift you and to challenge you, really what I'm going to be talking about is how you can turn that frown upside down, or how you can make something that's quite tough relatively easy, or you can see the silver lining of it. So I hope that's useful. For those of you who are new to this channel, my name is Louisa Tanner Munson. I'm a channel I use astrology and subliminal techniques in my coaching practice. This is really my astrology offering. I love talking about astrology. It's been my hobby since I was 11, and I formally started to study it when I was 19. And now I'm almost 50. So it's been quite a long sort of deep dive into astrology that I've had. Because I am a channel, sometimes I don't use correct astrological terminology, because when I'm looking at a chart, I might kind of dive into it and get a little bit overly descriptive. In a few recent videos that I've done, I've had people kind of troll me a little bit in the comments and say, when you said this was a little bit, because they're really wanting sort of correct terminology. And, I'm recording these in the moment. These aren't rehearsed. I've got some notes, but I don't follow them. I'm really ad hoc. I'm very intuitive. So please just bear with me. And if the way I communicate is not for you, then there are so many other channels that I'm sure would love your dedication to the purity of astrology. I'm really looking at it from a perspective of sharing a tool that I found useful in my life that might be helpful to you, in terms of our growth, our enjoyment, our opportunities for peace, adventure, freedom, clarity, all that kind of stuff. That floats my boat, and that's what this channel's about. By the way, if you do like this and you find this useful, please do feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. That helps. And also, please share it with anyone that you think might like this. There's lots of people that might like a little bit of guidance. And, in my own kind of mumsy kind of way, I try and deliver things in a way that's going to be helpful. So anyway, with that all aside, I'm going to bring on the star signs in just a sec, but we're going to be covering all sorts of topics. So Jupiter in Gemini is a big theme, is coming up pretty much. I think I'm going to be talking about it in different ways for each of the different signs. Obviously, Pluto going into Aquarius, he's going into Aquarius twice this year. He's also backing out. I'm also going to be talking quite a bit about the Jupiter and Saturn square. So there's lots of different things that are falling together. And of course, let's not forget the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, which, is happening in April, and also the Chiron North Node conjunction coming up in February. One other thing I should just add is because I'm from the UK and I live in Portugal, we're in the UK time zone. So all of the things that I'm talking about are to the UK time zone, not to the American, not to the Asian or Australian. So, I might say that something's happening from your perspective in America. I might say it's happening a day after how it looks for you, but I'm talking about the same event. It's just our clocks are slightly different. But hopefully it won't take away from your enjoyment of this. Oh, and also I write my dates right the other way around to Americans as well. So I put the 20th of the 12th rather than 12/20. So hope that's all right. But anyway, cultural synchronicities and idiosyncrasies aside, let's bring on some of these charts and have a deep dive now. So what have I got? So first of all, just if you need to find your ascendant, if you go to astroseek.com, all you'll need is your time, place and date of birth, and just go to free horoscopes, scroll down to where it says ascendant rising sign calculator. You'll be prompted to put in your time, place and date of birth and press enter, and then you'll find your ascendant or rising sign, however you want to call it. And of course, once you've got that, then you know exactly which zodiac sign to listen to. I do get lots of people who message me each month and say that they listen to their ascendant, their sun and their moon. They find that there's something useful and some resonance going on with all of those. So yeah, feel free to use these in any way that you'd like to. So the first thing I'm going to look at then is Aries, and you'll see for each of these, I've got the best uplifts in 2024. I've also got your biggest challenges in 2024. So Aries, as we get going, the first thing that I really think is one of your best uplift moments in 2024, and there's 4 really key ones that I see. The first one, and this is one that not everyone's going to agree with, there's the new moon, which is also a total solar eclipse in the sign of Aries, in your own sign at 19 degrees. It's also in an exact conjunction with Chiron. Now, this is a massive new moon and it's likely to be a bit triggery. However, if you are an Aries who is on the way up, if you're someone that's done quite a lot of work on yourself, if you in particular are very well versed in coaching language and whatnot, this could be quite interesting. So you might feel a bit triggered on this new moon day, and it's going to be uplifting you for sure. I think what it's rising you to do is to leave some of the past behind. It's rising you up so that you create a new story for yourself. You are walking into 2024 with confidence, and I think it's a sign of maturity. I think these very stressful Chiron aspects, they make us rise up. They kind of almost coach the little child in us, and they allow us to grow up and mature, and then to become a mentor in our communities. So I see this new moon as a real great opportunity for you to become stronger, become known as somebody who does great stuff. So this is really a great start in terms of your confidence levels and knowing how you are observed and experienced and what your purpose is. Then we've got the Jupiter conjunction in Uranus, which is showing up in the sign of Taurus in your second house, which is amazing. This is very helpful in terms of your money. Now, it could cause some fluctuations, to be honest, but you've had Uranus going through here for such a long time now that I'm sure it's really already changed the way you use your money and your resources. I mean, Uranus has been here since 2017, so you're pretty much used to it now. And with Jupiter going through Taurus and Jupiter starting, will start to speed up through 2024, kind of whizzing pretty much through Taurus and then going into Gemini in May. There's going to be an excitement about your money. There's going to be a rush about your money. And around the 21st of April, when these two come together for the first time in 14 years, there is almost like a magical opportunity. Now, if I was in your shoes right now, I'd be lining up that opportunity. So if you've been wanting to change work, if you've been wanting to win a contract, if you've been waiting to release a book or whatever it is, or to start a book, or, whatever your big thing is, you have a lead up to this event. And I would use it, if I was in your shoes, I would start planning how I might use this energy. It's inventive, it's expansive. It creates change and it creates an uplift. But if you're not using this energy and you're not paying attention to what's going on in your money, then you might have some kind of fluctuations because this energy is quite disruptive. So again, I really, recommend that you use the energy of excitement and spontaneity to kind of piggyback yourself or catapult yourself into a new way of being. I think that would be really helpful. Later on in May, Jupiter then moves around and is here. It's going into your third house in the sign of Gemini. And then he's going to be in Gemini for the rest of the year and beyond. And Jupiter in Gemini is making some amazing aspects that are absolutely opening conversations, opening new ways of thinking about things. I'll be honest, Jupiter's not in a strong position in the sign of Gemini. He's in his detriment. However, in the third house, Jupiter's expansive nature is going to be creating so much more of a curiosity about life, an eagerness to connect with people, especially in your local community. It's creating a lot more goodwill. If you've wanted to get much better relationships with people in your life, especially people close to you within your community, this is the time to do it. If you're wanting to take community action, and let's face it, your job, your new brainwave job could have something to do with community action, then this is like really on the right, this is the right way to go. This is going to really help you. Now, later on in the year as well, on the 14th of August, there is a conjunction at 16 degrees in the sign of Gemini between your ruling planet, which is Mars, and obviously Jupiter. So I see that as a very sort of uplifting moment too. So these are just four. Obviously, there are so many different aspects. And like I said, I have spoken about all the big aspects that I see for 2024 in an overview video. It's worth listening to that if you haven't already. But these are my main uplifts. There might be others that are even more suitable from your perspective, but these are the four that really caught my eye for your ascendant. If we have a look now at some of the challenges, it's interesting actually, because the first of my uplifts I really saw was really starting in April, early April, after the spring equinox. So it's almost like winter is a preparation time. And that's when I see some of your challenges actually. So it's almost like I've done these in the wrong way. Like I should have read the challenges first. But one of the strongest aspects for next year for you, I think, is on the 14th, which is Valentine's Day, 14th of February. There is a conjunction between Mars and Pluto in your 11th house, which is going to really fire up your relationships, your friendships, your networks. It's worth being aware of that. Now, I see the 11th house as also a place to manifest. It's a place where we co-create, and who doesn't like co-creating with the universe? If you are an active manifester, like, get manifesting now, like really go to town on it, really believe it, really start to think it, feel it, share it, start to take action to manifest what you're dreaming of. And around the 14th, understand that things could really get moving in this sort of area of your life. But for instance, if you've got a big meeting and a lot of things are hinging on this big meeting, and you're meeting with lots of networks and friendships and things like that, you don't really want to put a foot wrong on the 14th, because Mars conjunct Pluto could make you very, very forceful, possibly too forceful. Again, it all depends on what outcome you're trying to achieve. If you're just trying to make people laugh or make people find you influential, you might want to like wave your sort of importance muscles around a little bit, but not too much, because you could kill it. So you need to pay real good attention around February. Now the 19th of February, just a few days on, we've also then got the Chiron conjunction in the north, and the Chiron is conjunct the north node at 16 degrees Aries. Now it's interesting because that's at 16 degrees Aries, and yet I actually said that the new moon total solar eclipse at 19 degrees Aries was an uplift, and this one is a challenging moment. They kind of go hand in hand, because the Chiron conjunction with the north node is uplifting you. It is spiky. It's not easy. Chiron shows our wounds and our hurts, and the north node is making us really real to where things have gone in our personality. We come face to face with ourselves, put it that way. But one thing I really admire about Aries is their ability to learn on the job and to learn on the go, on the run. I'm not suggesting you need to run away from anything, by the way, but I think that what you're learning from the challenges of Chiron conjunct the north node pay dividends come the time of the total solar eclipse on the 8th of April. So use the learning experience of Chiron conjunct the north node to prepare you to have an amazing total solar eclipse, which is a very strong time. Then there's a couple of other times that I see as being particularly tricky. So the Jupiter square Saturn on the 19th of August is challenging your unconscious mind, this area here, and your communication. You might want to be a lot freer than you are. You might have a lot of fears holding you back from what you can and can't say. That can be quite tricky. That aspect is also coming in again around Christmas on the 24th of December. But in truth, Jupiter and Saturn are in a square position now for a really long time. And they have a third square, I think is it June of 2025? At some point in 2025, they're in that square again, that exact square. So this is going to play out over a long, slow period of time. If I was in your shoes, which I'm not, but if I was in your shoes, Aries Ascendant, I would start thinking, okay, where are my fears holding me back from being a clear communicator? Boom. Last thing then I would say is Mars retrograde I got on the wrong way. Mars retrograde, Mars retrograde at the end of the year. It starts on the 6th of December, goes right the way through to February of 2025. But it starts, I've said Sagittarius, that's meant to read Leo. It starts in Leo and ends in Cancer. This is likely to stir up a lot of things in terms of your home and your security. It feels like you're being creative, and then all of a sudden you're needing to kind of embed it and make real your creativities. I think it's a time when you're likely to feel a little bit tired. It's your ruling planet that's going retrograde. So just pay attention to that. Don't plan to push ahead in your bold dreams in December. Just try and line up your dreams to manifest and fulfill before the Christmas period even starts in 2024. So there you go, Aries Ascendant. I hope that's helpful. Much love to you in 2024, and hope to see you another time soon. Okay, so we're on to Taurus Ascendant. Got little notes here just to keep me up to track. So Taurus Ascendant then, welcome to 2024. I'm having a look first of all at some of the key uplifts that I see going on for you, and boy, this first one is a cracker. Jupiter conjunct Uranus in your own sign, in your first house at 21 degrees. This is the one that all the Taurian ascendants and Taurians and Taurian moons and Taurian, anyone with a really strong Taurian, people with like Jupiter and Taurus, they've all been waiting for this. This is a strong uplift. Now it's going to create some restless energy for sure. Jupiter's expansive. Uranus is a fidget. Uranus likes to start and stop things and change, and is very high-minded. and Jupiter is obviously quite religious and spiritual as well as aspirational. So this could create some extreme yearning and dreaming, and some of them might seem impossible dreams. What I would say with this in your first house, where you could literally rebrand yourself, it is the time to think, how can I make an even bigger possibility for myself? Where can I create possibility that I did not know existed? If you start asking yourself now big searching questions in terms of projects that you might be working on, that you're trying to complete, that you can't seem to get the answer to, what I would really do now if I was in your shoes, Taurus Ascendant, is to ask yourself, how can what has not been possible up till now become possible? How can I use the energy of this uplift to my best? How can I share my joy with ease and grace and glory? You know, how can I uplift myself in a fun and freeing way? Because Jupiter and Uranus like to have fun, and they definitely like to be free. So really think in those terms. You could become a lot more independent. Don't be surprised if you do strive for greater independence during this time. This is a very key facet to who you are. You might also find that the way you are being in the world actually becomes really helpful. So you might realize that where you're quirky, actually that's what's needed, and you're like, well, why did I not do that my whole life? I should have just allowed my weird self to come out. So the next big one that I think is helpful, because obviously your ruling planet is Venus. Venus, by the way, whips around the zodiac very fast. So she tends to move roughly in alignment with the sun, but she actually does a whole lap and some. So she goes from 2 degrees Sagittarius right the way through to 2 degrees Sagittarius, and then on pretty much to the end of Aquarius in this year ahead. So she's getting a move on in this year ahead. Anyway, I really like the 23rd to the 25th of May. The 23rd, I started then because on the 23rd, there's a conjunction between Venus and Jupiter. So obviously Jupiter's really heavily featured in your chart right now, as is Uranus. But, towards the end of Jupiter's time in Taurus, right at the last degree, I think it's right at the last degree. Yeah, at 29 degrees, in comes Venus into a lovely conjunction. It's your ruling planet, conjunct Jupiter. Venus and Jupiter are also known as benefics. The 2 benefic planets, the most beneficial planets, are having a party in your first house. Doesn't get much better than that. It is a time when you're likely to feel very good. I would be on the lookout for where you're feeling a bit lazy, because you could feel so good that you don't do anything. So, keep your goals very close by if you are aspiring to do something. But you might just need a really good relax with really nice people who you really love. And in that moment of loving enjoyment, you might actually create some amazing new ideas. Things may occur. This is a beautiful time to go into the flow and to be deeply, deeply creative, which I know you love doing. Then on the 25th, Jupiter straight into Gemini, and then thereafter Jupiter makes a whole bunch of really great aspects. Now Jupiter's not strong in Gemini, but is going into your second house, which is all about your resources and how you feel about how you value yourself. So this is going to be quite a useful time. I see that you could find a bit more stability through growing what you're currently offering. So don't hold back. If you feel like you've got something that's deeply valuable, then please do share it, and then I really, really like this. On the 15th of September, Venus is in the sign of Libra. Obviously, Venus rules Libra too. So she's very happy there. And she's in an exact trine to Jupiter at 20 degrees in the sign of Gemini. So these are the 3 big highlights for me for your ascendant sign. Let's have a look at some of the challenges that I foresee. And as I say, these are challenges, but these are things that just might be what you need to move up to the next level. So the first one I really see is on the 25th of January. There's the full moon in Leo. Now, obviously, you've got a Taurus ascendant. So that full moon in Leo, the full moon is actually occurring in the 4th house of home. And the sun is in the sign of Aquarius, which is, how you stand in the world and get recognition. So this is some real tension between home and away. So that can be quite uncomfortable. And given that Uranus is currently round about 16, 17 degrees at that time, there is a big T-square. So yes, there's a home and away debate going on for you. And there is also the thirst for freedom that's growing within you. And also Jupiter is kind of aggravating this too. So, that's something worth looking out for. On the 19th of February, there is the Chiron conjunction with the North Node at 16 degrees Aries. That's in your 12th house. That could be quite painful. Not long after, on the 8th of April, there is also the total solar eclipse. And I could have included that in here. But suffice to say, this is quite a sore spot in this year ahead. Anything that you can do to understand yourself and to make you understand your psyche better would be really, really beneficial, so that you're less triggerable. Another time that I see as being particularly challenging is the Jupiter square Saturn that's happening between the 11th and the 2nd house. Now, the reason being, the 11th is where your networks and your friendships and some of your contacts sit. That could be professionally, and with Saturn going through there, that might be tightening up. It could be firming up and making your relationships a lot more stable. That could be a really beneficial part of it. However, it's in a square to Jupiter's need to thrive and expand. So there's this feeling that you're expanding your business, or you're expanding your opportunities to work and to earn money, and it feels like there's no support. So that's something worth looking at. And that's also coming back on the 24th of December, around Christmas time. So anywhere where you're not feeling supported by the universe, by life, by friends, it's important to look at, are you insecure about being supported? Do you need support? Can you make yourself stronger? Can you, what can you do to mitigate those challenges? The last one that I think is quite important to point out is the full moon in Taurus on the 15th of November. So the moon is at the tail end of Taurus. The sun is at the tail end of Scorpio. I've written some notes here about this. Oh, yeah. This is why it's quite a jumpy one, because the full moon is also exactly, or not exactly, but it's very, very close to Uranus. And so the moon and Uranus together, when they come together, they can really bring about some unpredictable behavior. So this is a slightly more challenging aspect, and you'll probably feel it coming into that time. So anyway, Taurus Ascendant, have a fantastic 2024. I hope that's helpful. Please do check in with me for other forecasts, which I do on a month-by-month basis. But if I can be of any help, then stay in contact. But anyway, have a flipping awesome time, and I hope this has been useful. Lots of love. Okay, Gemini. So this is really your time, isn't it? This is your time to shine. This is your time to absolutely do stuff in the world. You've got Jupiter coming into your own sign. This is big, big stuff. Now, the first thing that I want to really kind of reiterate, now I've said this for all the other star signs, I'll say this again. Jupiter's not very strong in Gemini. However, I don't necessarily think that we should judge all the planetary energy in a bad way. I mean, Pluto's about to go into Aquarius, and Pluto's not strong in Aquarius. He's actually in his full in Aquarius. So, slower moving planets will stay in signs that they're not necessarily comfortable in. But Jupiter in Gemini is occurring in your first house. And whether Jupiter is strong or not, Jupiter going through the first house is a big event. This is a planet that wants to make us bigger, bolder. We are definitely noisier when Jupiter's going through our first house. We might need to watch our waistline somewhat. The last time Jupiter crossed into my first house, I was pregnant with my last child. So Jupiter does, it can expand our waistlines, given that the first house is all about our body. But anyway, these are the big uplifts I see for you in 2024. A lot of, as you'll see, there's a lot of Jupiter stuff going on there. So on the 21st of April, obviously we've got Jupiter in a conjunction with Uranus. That's in your 12th house. Now that's going to be stirring you somewhat. It's going to be creating an opportunity to get so much more intuitive, a lot more into your own power, a lot less fact-based and rational-based. I mean, this is a tough one for you, Geminis, because the Gemini ascendant energy, the Gemini energy in general, doesn't like to be that intuitive. I'm not saying you're not intuitive, but you tend to prefer facts and short detail, because that way you can accumulate a lot of information very quickly, you can process a lot of information quickly, and you can fill in the blanks quite easily with your really quick intellect. And so with Jupiter really sort of emphasizing your 12th house, and Uranus is there, this could create some very big dreams, and it could absolutely bring you in touch with your innate intuition. And take you much deeper into an imaginative process. So I don't see this as a bad thing. I see this as opening you up to greater opportunities, which I know you're completely capable of. Now, the 25th, we've got Jupiter going into the sign of Gemini, and then pretty much throughout the end of May and June is just phenomenal, really. The 3rd to the 6th of June as well, we've got the new moon in Gemini on I think it's on the 6th, and then on the 3rd we've got Jupiter trine Pluto. So this is interesting because this is also catapulting on the air energy of Pluto in Aquarius. So you've got Pluto and Jupiter together. They're not often together in this lovely trine that happens twice every 11, just over 11 or 12 years. Because obviously Pluto's moving as well. So yeah, they don't come together that often in their trines, but they are pretty magical. And that trine energy is really, really strong at the time of the new moon in your sign. Now, the new moon in your sign, you've got the sun, the moon, and you've got Venus all at 16 degrees. You've also got Mercury, your ruling sign, your ruling planet, in a conjunction with Jupiter at the same time. All of this in your first house. This is huge. You are learning to see yourself in a whole new light. This could be really revelationary for you. You know, you could be really awakened by this energy. So I see this as being really, really strong. Now, the last one, and I'm sure I'm going to get some flack for this. I actually think the new moon in Virgo is going to be quite beneficial for you. Now, yes, it's another sign ruled by Mercury, and it's another mutable sign, but it is a sign that's square to your ascendant, and it's in your 4th house, which isn't necessarily a place where people find joy. Actually, a lot of people find a lot of trauma at home, as opposed to joy. You know, the joy tends to come later for a lot of people, especially the people I speak to, or the people that are seeking to learn about themselves, often are wanting to do that because of gaps from their childhood or things that happened in their childhood that they haven't quite worked through. That's what brings most people to any kind of psychology or learning about your hidden self, your inner self, etc. So anyway, the new moon in Virgo, like, trust me on this one. What happens immediately before the new moon in Virgo? So the month before that, we have got Mercury retrograde, and Mercury retrograde is going from 4 degrees Virgo right the way back into Leo. And during that time, that's from the 5th of August until the 29th of August, you are being challenged. It's almost like you're being coaxed out of your home and back into the community. You're being challenged to see your context as slightly different to how you might see it. You're meant to be maybe more connective. You're meant to be connecting more to people and sharing your gifts further and wider. And so it's like this Mercury retrograde has really got a purpose. And by the time the new moon in Virgo comes along, Mercury's direct again. So I think, given that it's your ruling planet and you've been challenged with your ruling planet in your own sign, but it's just gone direct, I think you're going to feel much relief, a big sense of relief at the time of the new moon in Virgo. So that's why I actually think it's actually quite uplifting, and that's why I've included it. Let's have a look now at the biggest challenges then. So the biggest challenges that I see for you in terms of 2024, they're really up here. So we've got the Chiron conjunction to the North Node at 16 degrees Aries. That's on the 19th of February. On the 8th of April, we've got the total solar eclipse, which is also, it's the new moon in Aries at 19 degrees. So there's only 3 degrees difference here. These are in your 11th house, which is a place where you can have a lot of influence. And Geminis like to influence people. You know, Geminis like to have their message heard. You know, they like networks. I always think of the 11th house as a place of co-creation, but also a place of social media. This is where the big vision is. This is where the big global vision for things are. And Geminis really like to be in on that act. But having Chiron there and the North Node there, and then this great big total solar eclipse is huge. So there's a lot to process. It's a challenge. What I would say is watch what's going on between you and other people in your life. How are you relating to each other? What is going on in terms of your global visions? Are they still in alignment? If they're not, can they get back into alignment? Now, also during this total solar eclipse new moon period, we've got the first of the Mercury retrogrades this year. So we've got Mercury going retrograde. I say the first, obviously, as we go into the new year, Mercury is retrograde. It goes direct on the 2nd, but this is the first full Mercury retrograde of 2024. It starts on the 2nd of April and it goes through to the 26th of April, really covering this time. And it goes from 27 degrees Aries to 15 degrees. So I just think from February until the end of April, whilst there are good things going on, i.e. we've got this beautiful conjunction, this Jupiter conjunct Uranus going on, it is still couched within quite a challenging time with that retrograde. You know, there is a lot of stuff being stirred in terms of how you relate to people. And I think this could actually stand you in good stead ultimately. Last thing I want to point out is this Jupiter square Saturn that's between Gemini and Pisces. Obviously, Pisces is your 10th house. That's where Saturn is right now, being a bit of a ball bag about it. You know, Saturn likes to create a few problems, show us where we're a bit lacking, where we might feel a bit inadequate. Now, these squares come around every 10 years or so. So we've got this on the 19th of August. There's another one on the 24th of December of 2024. And then there's a third one in 2025. This is going to be a recurrent theme over the next year. I would, if I was in your shoes, I would think in terms of where am I feeling insecure in terms of my career and my output? Where am I feeling insecure in terms of my reputation and my status? And what does that have to do with how I hold myself? What does that have to do with my personal brand, my personal image, my personality? There's a lot to unpack there. You obviously do have the 3 retrogrades. They are all in fire signs, although the second one starts in Virgo, but it's mainly in the fire sign. So the Mercury retrogrades, the times for you to really, I don't know, go on your little journeys of fantasy and enjoy a slightly different mental space to create new ideas. They're going to be a lot more active than usual. So anyway, I'm going to leave that there, Gemini. A big year for you with Jupiter going in there. I hope this has been helpful. Have a great 2024. And if I can be of any help, then just subscribe to the channel, stay in touch, and hopefully we can stay in contact. But anyway, lots and lots of love to you. Okay, so I'm on to Cancer now, and let's examine how the Cancer Ascendant is going to be processing the energies of 2024 in this year ahead. First thing, so we've got best uplifts here, you know, the things that I think are going to be really helpful. And then on this page, I've got the things that I think are going to be a little bit problematic or challenging. That's not to say that you're not going to get through them and that these energies might not work for you, but yeah, I think this is going to be good. You've got, obviously, the moon is your ruling planet, and so each year we have eclipses in pairs. So we've got the eclipse pair starting in March, finishing in April, and then again at the end of September through to early October. The particular one that really catches my eye is the total solar eclipse. It's a North Node one, so it's absolutely pointing us in the direction, the energy of that total solar eclipse is really taking us to new places. And I think it's challenging. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think, these nodal aspects are going to be uplifting you, but only after you've done quite a bit of soul searching. So I've picked the easiest ones. The first one I think I wanted to highlight was the new moon in Capricorn. Now, not many people would say, oh yeah, the new moon in Capricorn, that's good for Cancer, but look at where it is. The new moon, the new energy, the fresh energy, it's in your 7th house. Also, the new moon in Capricorn is in a conjunction to Pluto. Now, that might raise fear in some people because Pluto is pretty hardcore, and Pluto does get us to surrender. But I actually think that you could surrender to the emotions of a partnership. You could surrender to love. You could surrender to your partner. You could both surrender together. There's a whole heap of ways that this could work out really powerfully, rather than for you to feel really negated by a strong partner. What I'm seeing is you've got a chance to build stronger partnerships in this year ahead, starting from the 11th of January. I see this as very beneficial. It's almost like you're getting back on track with your relationships. Now, that's, I don't see anything bad about that. I really also like the new moon in Cancer, which is not on the 10th of March. When is that? The new moon in Cancer is on the 5th of July. So this should actually read the 5th of July. So my apologies there. The 5th of July, which is when the new moon in Cancer is, it's at 14 degrees. I see being hesitant, and I see lots of things and think, oh yeah, I love that. I also had written down the new moon in Pisces, and that's on the 10th of March. That is also good for you. I do like these new moon energies for you in 2024. But in particular with the new moon in Cancer, it is, you've got a trine between the sun and moon and Saturn. So, the Saturn in Pisces energy, which a lot of people fear, people don't like necessarily these like long, slow Saturn placements. They get a little bit wary of them. But your Saturn is in the 9th house. It's, if anything, it's helping you broaden respectively and with discernment your life. And so this new moon in Cancer, I think it's supporting you. It's really helpful for you to come forwards and step forwards in your life and your personality as a persona. It can help your body. It's almost like your spirituality, your new way of being is allowing you to blossom. So I think that's good. That's the 5th of July. I also really like the 21st of April. Obviously, we've got the Jupiter conjunction with Uranus. It's in your 11th house. That's creating opportunities to connect with people at a much deeper level, at a much wider level, at a philanthropic level. You could really create a beautiful vision with like-minded individuals. So again, I just see this. I don't see that there's anything to really fear about this. I think this is a real dreamer's aspect, this Jupiter conjunct Uranus. The 11th house I see is that like the place of the law of attraction, as well as your contacts and family and stuff. It's good. One thing I would say is that your partner's children. So if you are a step parent, and you've got Jupiter conjunct Uranus in your 11th house, things could be occurring for your stepchildren. And that obviously the nature of step relationships isn't always that clear or joyful necessarily. It's not to say it's not, but typically lots of people complain about their stepchildren and step parents and whatnot. So, you may well find you can either jump forward suddenly and things start to work, or you might find that there's a new inventive way or a new process or a new hobby or something that connects you all. But suffice to say, there's a new way of doing things in your family. So that's also quite helpful. Jupiter going into Gemini then. It's not strong in the sign of Gemini, but it's going into your 12th house. And a lot of people would not normally highlight that as particularly helpful. The 11th house the 12th house is a place where we might come undone. It's got quite a bad reputation. But I also think of it as a place of our intuition, our dreams, the things we're still working on, the things that we do in private. our deepest secrets, our deepest held dreams that we daren't even speak, because if we do, we might have to do something about them. Jupiter is giving you hope there. Now, you are going to need to use a bit of discipline with Jupiter going through here, because if you're undisciplined and you're in bad habits and you're in bad mental health, Jupiter going into this area could actually aggravate that. However, if you are kind of channeling your best self right now, if you are in a space of being loving and kind and for forgiveness for yourself, if you're generous with yourself, if you're giving yourself time to make better choices and create better possibility for yourself, I actually think Jupiter going through your 12th is helpful. I mean, just think about it. A whole year later, roughly, Jupiter is going to be coming into your first house. And when that happens, that's going to be stepping you up a gear. So having Jupiter going through your 12th is an opportunity to go deeper into who you are. It's an opportunity to like loosen the effects of some of your insecurities and fears. You know, Jupiter could give you the opportunity and the curiosity to let go of a load of tough stuff. So I see this as beneficial, though it could be slightly challenging. And then the biggest challenges, you might actually find some of these biggest challenges are actually not as scary as they sound. But the first one I would be aware of is on the 19th with the conjunction between Chiron and the North Node. Obviously, nodal things are pretty strong with you, given the relationship to the moon. This is taking place in the 10th house. And then straight after, we've got the total solar eclipse, which I mentioned at the start. It's new moon in Aries at 19 degrees. It's exactly in a conjunction with Chiron. If this is the biggest moon placement of the year, in my opinion. These are in your 10th house. This is where you are succeeding. This is where you're being recognized. This is where you're getting kudos. This is where your legacy is. This is where your career might be, where you might have influence and authority. This is where you wear your big old knickers and stand strong. So this is quite a tough time. You might feel very vulnerable. You might feel very seen and observed. And not all people with a Cancerian ascendant do want to be seen. A lot of people kind of hide back a little bit. But you are going to be visible. And if you are uncomfortable, if you are feeling pain, it's going to be visible. So you're going to need to think about how can you allow yourself to be vulnerable and be graceful about it? How can you allow yourself to be vulnerable and be seen? Is there a way that you can find strength in vulnerability? Because I tell you what, most, apart from callous-hearted people, and there are a few of those around, but most people are really, really nice. Really nice. I see more nice people than slightly judgy, snarky people. Most people really want everyone to do well and to be well and feel well. So, from the perspective of all the nice people that I work with, loving people that will help you, when we see vulnerability, it makes us love you more, not less. It makes us think, shit, I really trust that person. I want to work more with them. So that my advice is, during this time, just consider how you can be more vulnerable. Don't be more backed up and clunky and put your big old shell on. Don't go into your cave. Allow yourself to be seen and felt and experienced, because you might find that actually that's your strength. You might find that your new strength in 2024 is to be heartbreakingly vulnerable, and that is the thing that moves you up. Have you considered that? The last one that I think is worth bearing in mind, and that's the opposition between Pluto and Mars. So yes, Pluto does go into the sign of Aquarius, then he backs out. And before he goes back into Aquarius, he makes an opposition with Mars at 29 degrees in the sign of Capricorn. This is going to be the very last opposition between Mars and Pluto for in the polarity of Capricorn and Cancer for 250 odd years. So these oppositions, when they've come up, have been quite devastating. Like the Mars Pluto oppositions can be quite kind of violent in their energies. Our emotions get really stirred. I'm not saying you become violent, but there tends to be quite stirring world events. And if things are being stirred at a world event level, just think what that might be doing at a personal level. So, this is energy that's taking place across your 1st and 7th house. This is you versus me versus partners. This is you and your projections and the internal fight between wanting to control things and also wanting to survive. Where is Pluto? Where is that side of you that wants to control things so badly that you're almost killing yourself? And where is that part of you that wants to survive so strong that it's actually bringing up resistance from other factions? You'll find that these are all playing out in your own psyche, but it's just worth being aware of it. And the reason why I'm saying it's worth being aware of it is because this is the first of 3, I think maybe 4, 3 oppositions between the end of 2024 and throughout 2025. And then, we're moving away from this area. But this is the last one in Cancer and Capricorn for some time. So hopefully that was helpful to you, Cancer. I hope that was useful. I wish you a really beautiful 2024 with lots of heartfelt vulnerability and also the big stirrings that are going to be taking you further into the world and deeper into your relationships. So there you go. That's pretty good. If you want to stay connected with me, feel free to. You can find my address down below. And I hope to see you again in other forecasts. Lots of love. Bye for now. Hey there, Leo. So let's have a look at your 2024, shall we? Let's see what's going on for you. So as with all the other signs, I'm looking at the best uplift points for you in 2024. It's just from my own opinion. It's not definitive. And also some of the biggest challenges that you might have in 2024, which if you were to turn around, could really, really create some more uplift. So I really see these going hand in hand. In fact, I see them going so much hand in hand that I'm prepared to, or I actually want to do them in this order. I want to start here actually, because one of the challenges that I see for you early on in 2024 is the Chiron conjunction to the North Node at 16 degrees in the sign of Aries on the 19th of February. Now, this is really activating in your 9th house. So it's a place of, I would say, big views, big ideas, big philosophies, big spirituality, the big need to be adventurous, the big need to be away, be free, be like the word of truth. Like you want to be living your truth, I think, actually. And so the Chiron wounding here is where you are not living your truth, where you're not living your spiritual aspirations. Like how far away from the truth of who you are is your life? How far away is it? What's the gap between who you are and where you want to be right now? And the North Node obviously just brings it really real and into your face. It's like up close and personal. It's like you can't actually really ignore the feeling of oh my God, what is going on? And why do I feel so insecure? Because I'm not living my truth. So there is this very, very big and possibly difficult energy going on. Now, interestingly, a few weeks later, on the 8th of April, we've got the total solar eclipse new moon in Aries. Now, it's in the same place. It's just like 3 degrees on, like the previous one was at 16 degrees. This one is at 19 degrees in the sign of Aries. What I actually see is happening is you've got this chance from the 19th of February until the 8th of April. So it's a bit more than a few weeks. It's about 5 weeks. You've got this time to work through your insecurities, work through what it is that is preventing you from finding freedom. And then on the total solar eclipse, the new moon in Aries, which is in a conjunction with Chiron, it is triggerable for sure. But it is inspiring you, it's uplifting you to live freely, to have that sense of freedom, to live with that sense of this is what my life is about. This is where my purpose is meant to be. And I think that's rather spectacular. The next thing that I really notice, I think, is the Jupiter conjunction to Uranus at 21 degrees in the sign of Taurus, which is really in your 10th house area. This is really quite dreamy, actually, I would say, because it's encouraging you to expand your career aspirations, expand how you see yourself evolving in your whole life. It is expanding and creating a change. It's inviting you to change your outlook. It's inviting you to change and up level who you say you are in the public realm. It's encouraging you to absolutely be your authentic self, come hell or high water. You know, you are absolutely in your own space. This is such a great opportunity for you to be spotted, to be seen, to be noticed. And you're being noticed because you are absolutely authentically real and yourself. This is very powerful. You might find, like, if you're somebody who works in sales and things like that, or doing big deals and whatnot, this might be a time when a really big deal comes in, or you get this new contact who is going to be really quite profound in your life. Speaking of contacts, like the Chiron energy that's been going on in your ninth house is also the energy of a really good mentor. So you might find that these go hand in hand, that you get this, like, if you open up and really realize who you are and how free you want to be, the right kind of mentor comes into your life, and then boom, you know, two months later, you are creating a new possibility for yourself. So I just think this is really strong. The 25th of, we'll say from the 23rd, when we've got Venus in a conjunction with Jupiter, which is really great in your 11th house. Well, actually just sort of here in between the 10th and the 11th, the whole idea of how your career transforms and then networks out, you know, that's amazing. You've then got Jupiter going into this area here in the sign of Gemini. Now, it's not strong in Gemini. However, Jupiter in the 11th is great. It's opening up opportunities to reach more people, reach a much better, more agreeable audience, which is fantastic. That you can find more and more collaborations, more and more ways to connect and enjoy life with people. And the 11th house is also where the global vision is, where your vision is, your vision that you would like to gift the world with lives here, and Jupiter's there, sort of emphasizing it. Another great uplift moment is on the 3rd of June, and all the way through to June the 6th, actually, when we've got the new moon. But Jupiter trine Pluto is really encouraging you to make great, spontaneous, amazing, strong, transforming relationships with people that take you into a much wider space of influence. So you are noticing how your relationships are becoming much broader, having a much further reach. You're also noticing that people from your networks are also becoming much better friends. So this is a very friendly, very outward facing set of uplifts for this year ahead. Now, some of the challenges, I've already mentioned one of them, the conjunction with the North Node in your ninth house. But on the 19th of August, we've got Jupiter in a square to Saturn. Now, this is going to be a familiar pattern. This is going to come up again on the 24th of December. It's also coming up in 2025. But these squares are frustrating. So we've got Jupiter here in your 11th, really wanting to fire ahead and feel really excited and create some kind of global mayhem. And then you've also got Saturn here in the 8th, kind of cautioning you about the joint money opportunities. You know, are people going to share properly? And where is guilt, shame, blame, and anger playing into this? So you might find that you need to use a lot of discerning to ensure that people don't come and pee on your chips or rain on your parade, so to speak. It's going to be difficult at times. You know, yes, you're inspired and the right people are finding you, and yet you've still got to maintain relationships with the number crunchers and relationships with people who are steadying, but also dampening as well. So this is going to be a bit of a bugbear. The last thing that I really wanted to point out, and this is the Mercury retrograde, which is happening from the 5th of August to the 29th of August. It starts in Virgo, in your second house, to do with money, and it goes backwards into the sign of Leo, into your first house. And so as I see it, you're realizing that your money has been going in a particular way, or the way you've been feeling about yourself has been kind of highly stylized. And actually what's going on is you're rethinking the way you do money, because you are changing. And the changes that are coming up because of how you are changing, it's going to have an impact on your money. So you've just got to rewind a little bit, rethink, reimagine how you want to be valued, how you want to be gifted, how you want to receive. And then as Mercury moves forward again, it all falls into place. So there you go, Leo Ascendant. I hope that's helpful for 2024. Hope you have a great year ahead. And if I can be of any help, then stay connected, subscribe, see my email below if you want to work with me. But anyway, I hope to see you again another time. Lots of love. So on to Virgo Ascendant. Now, Virgo Ascendant, what have we got for you in this year ahead? Well, so I'm looking here at the best uplifts. And these are 3 very, very strong uplifting moments. I would say springtime is your time. And then I've also noted some of the more challenging ones. Now, these are the ones, the first 2 are ones that start in the winter time. So I want to start here actually, because this is where the start of the story is, I guess. The first date that I've picked out has been quite important, and that's the 19th of February, when Chiron is in a conjunction to the North Node. Now, this doesn't happen very often at all, but they're together. And they're coming together at 16 degrees in the sign of Aries, which is in your 8th house. Now, the 8th house isn't a comfortable place to wear. It's like wearing tight shoes. You know, you get a headache after a while, you get sore feet, you start to grouch, you start to feel really weary. And the 8th house can really do that to you, because it's where we carry our blame, shame, guilt, anger, regrets, resentments, bitterness, all of those feelings that really have something to do with judgments about how you are judging yourself or how you're judging other people, and also how you feel other people are judging you. So, you know, it's a huge judgment fest, and it's a place where we can get really tired. But the 8th house is also quite magical, because it's where we maybe go off into private, maybe where we're a little bit secretive. It's associated with Scorpio after all, but it's also where we transform and where we become a new person. So having Chiron and the North Node going through this part of your chart is deeply disturbing at times, because it's almost like Chiron, the wounded healer, can see all of your nasty little secrets, all those insecurities you've got, all those judgments. And the North Node is kind of sticking his boot in as well, kind of really challenging you to face everything that you're afraid to face, and to realize actually that if you weren't to judge yourself, you'd probably be a lot happier and you'd probably transform from one stage of life to another much more seamlessly. So there's a lot of emphasis put on this area here in this year ahead, in particular early spring. Now, by April, that has transformed a little bit. We've got the total solar eclipse and new moon in Aries, 19 degrees. It's in an exact conjunction with Chiron, because Chiron has moved those 3 degrees. And so if you are still suffering from those inner wounds, those insecurities, if you haven't managed to find any space to give yourself a little bit of a break during that 2-month period, then this new moon could be quite painful. So I've listed it here as one of the biggest challenges. It's not because I'm saying it is. If you transform the upsets that you've held about yourself and other people, if you're able to transform those, then by the time this new moon comes along, you may well complete on a part of your life and move on to another stage in your life, which could be really magical and really powerful. So, you know, I'm sharing this with you to put the power back in your hands. And you might not know now what insecurities have been playing out. You might not be completely aware. You might not even know how you might heal them. However, the invitation is there to look deeply at yourself, because if you don't, the chances are things are going to come in that are going to trigger events. So also, it's going on with like Mercury retrograde. You know, there's going to be some tricky Mercury retrogrades, but this one in particular, early on between the 2nd of April to the 26th of April, is also going on during this total solar eclipse. So this Mercury retrograde, you are really rethinking your life in quite a powerful way. The last point I really wanted to share with you is on the 5th of August, right up until the 29th of August, you've got the Virgo retrograde Mercury retrograde. So it starts in Virgo, goes back into Leo in your 12th, which is that place of privacy and that place of, you just want to be quiet. You just want to retreat. And this could be quite a creative space. This could be a time when you get very almost psychedelic. You could really go on a wild trip or a retreat. It could be a very good time for a retreat, actually, like late August. You may well choose to say, you know what, I don't want a proper summer holiday. I just want to go somewhere, work on myself and have a nice time. I want to navel gaze a little bit. Whatever you can do to nourish yourself during this Mercury retrograde will be very, very much appreciated by your body, your mind, and that will have ramifications that will be very helpful. Anyway, back onto all the good stuff. Jupiter and Gemini, I see as being very, very beneficial to you. It's coming into your 10th house, so it's really highlighting your willing to rise up and be seen. It's highlighting that it's time for you to rise, for people to see your talent, for people to experience the glamour of you, for people to find that, Virgo Ascendant isn't always meek and mouse-like and helpful, that actually there is a star in you as well. So you will be appreciated for your thoughts. Now, Jupiter is not necessarily that strong in Gemini, but in the 10th house, it's very, very strong to have Jupiter going through there. You may well find that you're more talkative, more speaking with a lot more authority in this coming period. And in particular, I love this. This is very helpful to you. There's this lovely trine between Jupiter and Pluto, from 1 degree in Aquarius right the way through to 1 degree in the sign of Gemini. This is really connecting your day-to-day work, the number crunching, the sort of unglamorous side of your day-to-day existence, and catapulting you into being seen. So I think this, like around mid-June, early to mid-June, is really helpful, really truly helpful for you. It's a good time. It's going to help move you forwards. I can't remember if I actually shared anything about this one here. So let me just share it in case I haven't already spoken about it. Jupiter conjunct Uranus in the sign of Taurus. It's showing up in your 9th house. Now, I think of this as an opportunity to expand and to find freedom. And so given that you've got these positive aspects that are freeing up the way you work so that you get seen more, it sounds to me like you're redesigning how you do your work. You've got a chance to really renovate how you do your life. In fact, with Pluto going into the 6th, and with Jupiter going into the 10th, there's this real sort of feeling of renovation. Like you don't have to do it the same way as you've always done it. And this Jupiter conjunct Uranus, I see as really being the thinking of it, the dreaming of it, the exploration of it. There's this sense of adventure. If you've got anything in your chart at 21 degrees in the sign of Taurus, it's worth really checking out what it's connecting to. This is a really big aspect. And, another thing I like about it is that it's probably, if you've got your ascendants like towards the end part of Virgo, it's very much in a trine. This is going to be very, very helpful. Or if you are a sun sign Virgo, again, if your sun is from, say 12 degrees right the way through to 29 degrees of Virgo, it's going to be in a trine to this area here. So yeah, there's some great things there for you. And like I said, these challenges that are also likely to show up are there to really help you get ahead. They're really helpful. They are there to give you the edge. If you are able to get a handle on these aspects, these things I've already described, you will fly through 2024. So there you go, Virgo. I hope that's helpful to you. Have a fantastic year ahead. Have a fantastic 2024. And if I can be of any help, you know where I am, and hope to connect with you another time. Lots of love. So let's have a look now at the Libra Ascendant for the year ahead for 2024. As with all the other ones, I'm looking at the best uplifts. So I'm picking out some of my favorite aspects or movements of the planets in this 2024 period to share them with you in a way that hopefully is going to help you make the most of them. I'm also sharing some of the things I see as being quite challenging for you, so that they don't get the better of you, and that you can sort of incorporate them into your plan. Now, if I was in your shoes, Libra, here's probably how I would do it. I would start here. So we've got this stuff here between the sort of like mid-February right the way through to early April. It's really stirring things up in terms of your relationships. Now, it's important to get this under some kind of, well, get it in order somehow, because the 7th house is where your relationships are. And if you think about it, Libra, traditionally, the sign of Libra is about the 7th house. The 7th house is about cooperation. It's about coming together, working together, appreciating each other, helping. It's diplomatic. It's so many things. But the nature of the 7th house is being compatible and working things out, making things work. And so it's a paradoxical one for you, with your ascendant in the sign of Libra, because it's like you've got the inverted pattern going on. Now, for the last, God knows how long now, is it since 2017, you've had Chiron going through the 7th house, which would have really stressed out your relationships and how you see the nature of relationships showing up in your life. Chiron shows us where we got wounds, where we got leftover residual pain. And as such, where Chiron is showing us where we feel vulnerable, where we might not feel good enough, where we might not feel adequate enough. And so there's possibly this big script going on about, like finding your ideal partner. Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe your relationships aren't working out in the way that you've hoped. Maybe this is just the story. This is the thing that happens all the time. It's always been like that since childhood, all of those kinds of things. So, this is a moment in time from February to April when you could really get a handle on this. And I really suggest you do, because there's some great things coming up for you in 2024. So this Chiron conjunct North Node, the North Node is really showing us our karma and where we're like taking action. Which direction are we going in? And, we might realize with this conjunction that, things are a bit painful on the path, on the highway of love and partnership. And yet we can't get off. It is in the direction that we're going in. And so there is some form of acceptance available to you to just accept, okay, this doesn't feel great and I feel vulnerable. And if you could just get to that stage and say, I feel really vulnerable in my relationships, and I'm still committed to them. And, when I am absolutely sure what I need to do, I know I will be vulnerable enough to make the right decisions, and do it for the right reasons. So it's like you almost need to create a strategy for yourself. The easy thing to do with Chiron going through the 7th is just to split everything down and say, enough, here are my boundaries. But actually, I don't think that's what you need to do. It's more important to work out what your part in this is and what's playing out. Because I think the 7th house is massive for projections. What are you projecting onto your partners to make them not find you enough? How are you doing that? If you can get some of the answers, if you could like deep dive into it, or I don't know, like Chiron also shows us where we've got mentors and where we are evolving. It also shows where we get coaches and people helping us so that we can see the full shadow of maybe where we're working. I mean, this is kind of shadow work, really, all things considered. Now, around the time of the total solar eclipse, the new moon in Aries at 19 degrees, this has moved on a little bit. But you've got an opportunity to take action and an opportunity to end a pattern. This is a chance to say, okay, I'm done with this now, because my direction is here, and to be able to move forwards, I need to be much more together. I need to find a way to integrate this. And I think you'll find the answer. And it's a really, really dynamic time. Now, another challenge, and I'm going to come to the good bits after, but the other big challenge I see for you in this year ahead is that you've got this square, Jupiter-Saturn square. So Jupiter's here in your 9th and Saturn's showing up in your 6th in the sign of Pisces. And this is one of 3 Saturn-Jupiter squares. The first one is on the 19th of August. The second one's on the 24th of December. And then there's another one in 2025. But they're going to show up in the same place pretty much, give or take a few degrees. And these squares are showing you how your day-to-day existence is kind of holding you back or holding you in place, holding you in a routine. And the frustration that you have because of wanting to do something completely new and adventurous, something that's going to grow you, develop you, engage you, take you on a wild adventure outside of yourself. And so you've got that playing out at the same time. You'll probably find both sides of them equally compelling, which is the annoying thing about a square. You know, you will see the reason and possibly be quite grateful for Saturn's influence keeping you rooted, you know, not giving you the opportunity to go and lark around. And because of Saturn's prudence, you might have a bit more cash to be able to have more of a splash. But yeah, there's going to be some frustration around that. Now, let's have a look at the uplifts. So you see there's quite a lot going on in this area. So the first big one, and it's coming at the end of April, it's a Jupiter conjunction to Uranus at 21 degrees in the sign of Taurus. It's in your 8th house. It's really bringing up a sense of inquiry and exploration in terms of those close relationships you can't really get out of. So it may well be like your partner's family. It might be your partner's money, which carries a certain amount of relationship with it. It's a place of expectations. And so Jupiter conjunct Uranus may well find you the freedom from those expectations. You might have a massive breakthrough. You might have a windfall, like Jupiter in, you know, the 8th house is also about other people's money. Having Jupiter, the planet of excess, and Uranus, this planet of sudden change, could be really, really helpful. It might also not necessarily go up. It could go down. You know, Uranus does bring that, you know, like a surprise, a surprise, and that, you know, surprises aren't always that fun. But there is expansion, and you are in this space of expanding beyond where you've been before. Then when Jupiter moves into the sign of Gemini, it's expanding this like 9th house area, which is the one I was talking about previously. You know, you are going to be oriented towards a much bigger life. You know, there is this like striving in you. Jupiter is very, very comfortable in the 9th house. It's traditionally his house. You know, Jupiter loves to explore an adventure and to grow his mind, think new thoughts, consider things from all different perspectives, look at the greater context of things. So this is going to really broaden your depth and understanding of the world that you live in. I love it. And then the 3rd of June, Jupiter is in a lovely trine with Pluto, both early degrees of these air signs. So Pluto is bringing about a lot of creativity into your life. It's giving you the opportunity to create something really quite remarkable that's coming from you. It could be a child even, because the 5th house does rule children. And it could show transformation with, you know, the relationships that you have with your other children, if indeed you do have children. But this is creating opportunity and freedom from your creation. It's almost like your creations are bringing about a freedom for you. And those creations could be your children. They could also be your pets. But anything that you love doing, that you put your passion into. So it could be that you have a side hustle somewhere. Your side hustle could be creating a sense of freedom for you, an opportunity. Last thing then, I love this, and this is Venus trine Jupiter at 20 degrees between Libra and Gemini on the 15th of September. So this is great. Venus is in your sign, in her own sign in the 1st house. That's glamorous in and of itself. Connecting up to Jupiter, perfect. I think this year could absolutely be an opener to so many greater opportunities for you. So there you go, Libra. I hope that was helpful to you. Hope you have a fantastic 2024, and I look forward to connecting with you in the near future. Lots of love. So on to Scorpio. Let's have a look at what's going on with Scorpio right now. So where am I going to start? I mean, this is quite a big year for you. Okay. First thing I want to share with you, like, this is a big year for you, Scorpio, Scorpio ascendants and Scorpios alike. One of the reasons it's a big year is because your two ruling planets are doing some unusual things. Not necessarily unusual, but they're at a stage in their cycle where they're changing. So Pluto, for instance, is going into the sign of Aquarius on the 21st of January or the 20th if you're in America. And then he's transitioning into Capricorn. So he goes retrograde into Capricorn on the 21st of September. He then goes direct again. And then he goes back into Aquarius for the last time on the 20th of November. And then he's going to be in Aquarius for the next 19, 20 years. So, you know, Pluto in Aquarius will be finally transitioned. And that is going to create a lot less instability for you. It will be, I don't know, there will be a feeling that you can move forwards again. Now, you know, Pluto, your ruling planet, or one of your ruling planets, isn't comfortable in the sign of Aquarius, to be fair. However, you know what? You've really done the Pluto energy in Capricorn. It's done. It's dying. It's out. It's off. And it is time to go into the Aquarian arena. You know, this is going into your fourth area of experience. This is about creating a stronger grounding for you so that you can reach even further and deeper into your life and your experience. I mean, this is transforming the way you live, and also transforming your behaviors at a fundamental level. Now, also, you've got Mars. Mars is another one of your rulers. At the beginning of the year, Mars is at 27 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius. As we end the year, Mars is at 26 degrees in the sign of Cancer. So Mars has essentially gone, you know, around just over half of the zodiac. Now, Mars is also going retrograde from the 6th of December. And yeah, is going retrograde in why have I said in Sagittarius? Sorry, Mars is going retrograde in the sign of Leo, if I'm not mistaken. Going retrograde in the sign of, I think it's 5 Leo. Let me just check in my notes. One sec. Goes retrograde from 6 degrees Leo to 17 degrees in the sign of Cancer. So this is a big thing. You know, Mars retrogrades come around every 2.5 years or so, and he's going to be retrograde from the 6th of December. Is it until the 20 something of February? Let me just double check. 24th of January 2025. So it's quite a long time, couple of months, almost 3 months. So this is a big thing. So yeah, you've got some unusual things going on with your ruling planets. Now, something else that's coming up, which is both good and difficult. So it could be good, it could be bad. And a lot of these ones for you, Scorpio ascendant, I think you could use either way. You could use these uplifts to ruin your life if you choose to, and similarly you could use some of these biggest challenges to really raise you up. I note in particular there's two, it's actually three. There's Mars opposition Pluto at the end of the year on the 3rd of November, where both of your rulers are in opposition. That's going to be quite challenging. And actually, at the start of the year, on Valentine's Day, Pluto and Mars are in a conjunction together. Again, it's another strong energy. Both of your rulers are coming together. Now, there is a square point mid-year. I haven't listed that one because I just think there's so many more interesting ones to talk about. But anyway, as we start this year ahead, between the 19th and 21st of January, Pluto goes into, you have Pluto and the Sun come into Cazimi, so it's Pluto Cazimi. The Sun then goes into the sign of Aquarius. The very next day, Pluto goes into the sign of Aquarius. So this time, the 19th to 21st of January, is huge. and it's emphasizing what's going on at home for you and what's going on in private for you. This is underpinning your behaviors, underpinning your family. This is you facing yourself within your family, and it's a really strong aspect. This is your chance, or I say your chance as if you've only got one chance. That's obviously not true. You have many, many chances to make a difference and to change your direction. But this is a really strong opportunity for you to see yourself in a completely new way, to face your fears and to let go of them. And in facing your fears and letting go of them, you then become powerful. It's as simple as that, really. Then on the 14th of February, like I mentioned, we've got the Pluto conjunction Mars. Again, at this same point, it's literally just 1 degree further on, but this is so strong. So you've got Pluto and Mars together in the sign of Aquarius, really emphasizing that change, action, transformation can occur at the family level in a really deep way. And that could be really uncomfortable. But I know Scorpio, I have a Scorpio ascendant, and I know a ton of Scorpios. I've got 2 Scorpio sons, Scorpio moon husband, Scorpio dad. So I've got a lot of Scorpio energy around me. They don't shy away from a challenge. So actually, I think this Pluto conjunct Mars energy is going to benefit you. Yes, you are changing the way your family is going to live and thrive and survive. But the innovation, the transformation ideas are all there. How wonderful is that? We've also got Jupiter trine Pluto on the 25th of May. Now, this is obviously, a few things have changed since then. By the time that comes around, Jupiter has gone into the sign of Gemini. Now, I don't necessarily think of Gemini, like Jupiter and Gemini in the 8th house, as being that beneficial for Scorpios. I think Scorpios can totally use the energy and make it work for them, but it's likely to bring up a lot of old secrets, a lot of old things that they don't want to look at. It's likely to emphasize any conflict and drama that they might be having to do with judgments in their families. In fact, I think I listed it as Jupiter into Gemini. I don't see it as a wholly easy process for you Scorpios. I see it as maybe one of the challenges. It's going to be opening up the bigger conversations within your families, the life or death conversations that might be very awkward, the conversations about what happens next, and how we might manage these things, and in doing so overcoming all the challenges and resistances that everyone around you is throwing your way. So this is like a constant thing. However, when it is in a trine to Pluto, I think you've got so much more influence. So I really do see, I've got the wrong date here. I can't believe it. That should read the 3rd of June when Jupiter makes a trine to Pluto, not the 25th of May. That's when Jupiter goes into Gemini. You can see I'm not very good at multitasking and doing loads of things. But I did notice my mistake, which is good. So the 3rd of June is when Jupiter is going into a trine with Pluto. Big news. So all in all, the only one I haven't mentioned so far is the Jupiter conjunct Uranus at 21 degrees in the sign of Taurus. This is where we get a miracle in terms of our relationships. So, Uranus has been going through our 7th house for a long time, and this may well have disturbed our relationships quite significantly. During that time, I think from 2017, we may have ended a relationship and got into a new relationship. Our existing stable relationships could have got quite wonky, because Uranus is like, through the Scorpio ascendant lens, our relationship partners, people we're having a relationship with, are less reliable, are more chaotic, are more unusual, weird. They are more independent than they've ever been. And so that's throwing us into a bit of a spin. And when Jupiter comes into the conjunction, you may well find that either you get with a program and you're okay with your partner just being absolutely so much more spontaneous and weird and wonderful, and you join them. You may well find that your lovers, your husbands, wives, whatever, your family members that you're very close to, the people in your life that you're finding a little bit disturbing because they're just pushing the envelope just that bit too far, you might just realize that they're showing you where you're not free. and where you need your own freedom. And so I see this as a moment of liberating yourself. This is huge. 21st of April at 21 degrees. You are liberating yourself. Now, for some people, that may well liberate them from the relationship. You know, it may not work out because Jupiter is expanding. Uranus is changeable. And those two together, you might just say, enough, I'm done. However, I think, you know, the sign of Taurus, you know, our partners, like we have a programming to have reliable partners and partners who are loving and who you can trust. So I would say give it a go, Scorpio Ascendant. All is not lost. Just seeing if there's any others. Yeah, these, I've mentioned this a little bit already. So Chiron conjunct the North Node. I've been talking about this throughout this whole video. You know, at the start of the year, Scorpio ascendants, you are going to be challenged somewhat in the work area. Okay. So old pains and upsets and insecurities about how valuable you are, how needed you are, how adept you are, how skillful you are. If they're arising around the time of the 19th, you need to take action to do something to turn this insecurity into confidence. And I don't know how you're going to do it exactly. It's like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. How do you do that? I've never seen how those magicians have managed that, but I'm sure there are ways of doing it. Now, the sixth house is also about self-care and self-management and really managing your day-to-day experience. So I think the way to manage this energy is to absolutely go into self-care now at the start of 2024. You know, absolutely start looking at your health, start looking at your energy levels, start taking proactive measures so that you feel so strong in your body that if you feel insecure in your emotions, your body is strong enough to keep you going. You know, Chiron shows us where we are weak, and our sixth house carries our health template. So, you know, this is something to watch out for because the North Node is also bringing it up close and personal so that we cannot ignore it anymore. And it may well turn out that, you know, you have been mithering about your health for a while. You have been wondering, am I going the right way with my health? Maybe I need to take action, but not actually taking action. The time is actually right to take action. And on the 8th of April, there is a total solar eclipse, new moon in Aries, in an exact conjunction with Chiron. So if you haven't already sorted it out, you may come unstuck. You know, get ahead on your health, so your Chiron insecurities do not come up. Because let's face it, who can do a whole bunch of work if they are tired and knackered and they are not comfortable in their bodies? They're not going to be able to do anything. So take some time out, do some self-care, because if you don't, you know, these are very challenging times, and this is a very challenging position to have the Chiron North Node conjunction and also that bitching total solar eclipse. It is strong and it means business. So that's something I'd watch out for. I've spoken about Jupiter into Gemini. So the last thing that remains for me to share with you, Scorpio Ascendant, is on the 3rd of November, both your ruling planets are in opposition. And they are in opposition in the sign of Cancer and Capricorn across your 3rd and 9th house. This is just giving you, I guess, the tension between what you've learned and always known against what you feel and might not know empirically, but you have a strong intuition about it. And it's creating a really strong, well, it's like Mars versus Pluto. Pluto shows us our fears. Our fears are we don't know enough. We don't have enough knowledge to get by. And so we need to learn more, and we need to learn this fact, this fact, this fact, this fact. Whereas Mars is saying, look, we need to survive. And to do that, we need instinct. And to do that, we need to be really in touch with our intuition and have a broad view of how the world works. And so you're absolutely in the chaos of that. I would absolutely recommend that if you have any kind of sensibilities for corruption, for conspiracy, for anything that doesn't quite add up, this could be quite a maddening experience. You might find more joy if at this stage of the game, i.e. from now, right the way through February and April, that not only do you get your body strong, that you do that with the idea that you get your mind strong, because obviously if you're in a strong body, your mental health is so much more likely to be buoyant, and you can take action so much more acutely if you are strong. So I think all of this really it's all hinged on you being absolutely in your best health. Absolutely. The more you do that, the better you'll find you can cope with this opposition later on in the year. So anyway, I hope that was helpful, Scorpio. Really, truly do. And I look forward to talking with you more in due course in 2024. Lots of love. So we're on to Sagittarius now. And this is a big year for Sagittarians and Sagittarius ascendant, because let's face it, Jupiter's doing quite a lot of stuff in this year ahead. As you can see here, I've listed all of the different aspects, the big aspects that Jupiter's making. Obviously, Jupiter's going to be making aspects to the moon and Mercury and blah, blah, blah. But, there's some big ones there, including Jupiter in a conjunction with Uranus on the 21st of April. We've got the Sun Jupiter conjunction, which is the Jupiter Cazimi. We've got Venus in a conjunction. We've got Jupiter sextile Neptune. That's beautiful. Those two are happening on the same day, the 23rd of May is fantastic. We've got Jupiter going into Gemini on the 25th of May, and so on and so forth. There's so many big ones, and I'm going to talk about those. I do talk about them in the big overview that I've done for 2024, and I'm sure some of these are going to come up in this reading, Sagittarius, because Jupiter is your ruler, and so it's very important that we pay him some attention. So anyway, what I'm going to look at here is these are 4 of the biggest uplift points that I see for you in the year ahead. Obviously, there's as many as you need and want. I mean, Sagittarians, let's face it, your energy is optimism. So, you can turn any old aspect into something phenomenal. You can make it work. You are the original Pollyannas. So, let's see how we can get these uplifts really working for you. And also, let's also consider some of the biggest challenges. I mean, yes, you do like it on easy street, but you're not afraid of a challenge, are you? So let's also consider how these challenges could also motor you ahead. So I notice these challenges that I've listed are later on in the year. So I'm actually going to start with the uplifts. Now, some people might not list this as an uplift for Sagittarius, but I think it is. So the first one that's coming up, and this is so funny because I've just come from Scorpio, and I've listed the first 2 as the challenges for Scorpio, but for you guys, Sagittarian ascendants and Sagittarius suns, I think this is kind of beneficial. So on the 19th of February, there is a conjunction between Chiron and the North Node at 16 degrees in the sign of Aries. This is in your 5th house. This is impacting the part of your creativity, the part of your passions. So, your passions, it includes lovemaking, new relationships and romances, your children, pregnancy, birthing any kind of idea or passion. If you've got a book in you, a painting, a song, a dance, anything you're creating, it could be a home, a garden, a beautiful meal. Everything that you are creating is covered in this 5th house, including the confidence to create, and including the do you know what? I think there is something very normal and beautiful and healthy about humans creating. We are a creative species. If there's a problem, we create a solution. We invent something, we talk to people, we share ideas, we do all sorts of different things, but we are a creative species. We are meant to be creating. And you could argue that, when you're not creating another opportunity for yourself, I guess it's when you stop breathing, isn't it? Or your heart stops beating. Is every beat of your heart, every breath, a creation, a moment? Like the whole creation energy in your chart is really here. And so Chiron looks at your hidden wounds. It looks at those things from childhood where you might have not had confidence in who you were or what you were doing. But I'm not saying that your Chiron is here necessarily, but Chiron is going through here right now. And Chiron has been going through here since 2017. And so the chances are you've had a certain amount of performance anxiety in this area, or you've taken it to the next level. Because actually Chiron going through the 5th house isn't that tragic. As you know, as all the houses go, it's one of the more functional positions for Chiron to transit through, because, you know, we can always create something. You know, we might not always be able to create the things we want to create, but we are always able to create. We're not stopped from creating necessarily, because creation is life and life is creation. So the wound here is maybe about not having enough confidence, losing our confidence about being a creative species. And I guess if we're not creating, what is the point of us living? You know, it's that kind of drama that could come up. Now, also, if you have children here and Chiron is going, like if you have children, they show up in your 5th house. And if Chiron is going through here, you may well find that some of your children or one of your children is going through a creative crisis, or they are bringing some pain to you. Maybe they're in pain and they're not expressing it very well, and so it's thereby causing you pain. So Chiron is showing us where we've got wounding to do with our creations. And the North Node is here, and it's encouraging us, it's showing us that actually this is part of your journey. This isn't something you can skip by and go, tra-la-la. You know, this is actually something you have to face. And so this node, this North Node Chiron conjunction in Aries on the 19th of Feb is bringing your creation right up close and personal and saying, you've got to face this. And until you do, it's going to weaken you. You're going to feel vulnerable. So, you know, face it and maybe say, this is more than I can handle right now. Like Chiron, the way to handle Chiron energy is to accept that you are a vulnerable person. You know, that's the other thing with creation, you know, as being a completely human thing, we are also completely vulnerable. You know, so it's a big energy here. Anyway, on the 8th of April, the total solar eclipse and new moon in Aries is coming up, and it's also here. Now, I need to clarify, I've been describing this as if it's an awful event, but actually I see these as being very beneficial for Sagittarians, because the area here that we're talking about can be we can gain mastery of. Like when we learn about the hurts that we've had, that we've not been able to get over, and when we go into our completely creative process, when we really start to realize that what we create, we can't own. What we create, we can't control. What we create has a life of its own. Like if you do a painting, I mean, yeah, you can control it if you keep that painting in your house and never let anyone into your house. But the moment somebody sees that painting, they're going to react with it. If you have a child, a pet, people and the world interact with your creations. So you can't protect them. You know, you can try and you can protect them to the best of your ability, but everything that you create is vulnerable. And so at some level, there is a freedom that can come up with this. You know, Chiron here and the total new moon eclipse is offering you the chance to mentor and master how to release your creations into the world and release them with grace, and to be powerful in it. And in doing that, you're going to create more creation. You're creating more opportunities for yourself. Once you release your fear of not creating, once you release your fear of losing what you're creating, your energy is going to whoosh. It is an uplift point. It's painful and it could be triggering, but you can do this. You've got this. You've totally got this. Now, later on, on the 21st of April, Jupiter goes into a conjunction in Uranus, which is in your 6th house. Now, if your powers of creation are at super high levels, you can totally rock this. This Jupiter conjunct Uranus could really transform the way you work, the way you live. It could totally transform your health, because also if you are at one with your creative process and you are completely free, you are absolutely in a place of not being restricted. You know, the freest people are the ones that just create. Like, look at children before they get adulterated. And it's interesting that we say the word adulterated before we turn little innocent, playful children into little adults with judgments and blame, shame, guilt, and anger. Kids create, they play, they don't care what they're doing. They do it because they love doing it. And when they're in their beingness, they are pretty healthy and pretty flexible and pretty resilient, actually. They move on from things quite quickly. It's when we ruin that. So yeah, what I would say is get your child on, get your innocence on, get your playfulness on, and then this Jupiter conjunct Uranus is going to be really powerful. And it, like I said, it could power up your health and your working environment. It's very special. Last thing that I think is important, your ruling planet goes into the 7th house. Now, this is great. If you're single, this could like symbolize this new relationship coming in, or at least great people that you can have fun with coming into your life. And like, who's not going to like that? That's great, you know, to have fun, optimistic, positive thinking, generous friends and people coming into your world. That's amazing. So it feels like support is coming into your world. So I love this. I really think the first part of the year is so strong. And actually, as Jupiter goes on, you know, Jupiter is making very, very powerful connections. So for instance, just before Jupiter goes into Gemini on the 25th of May, Jupiter also makes a sextile and a conjunction to sextile to Neptune and a conjunction to Venus on the 23rd. So that's so powerful going into this. It's huge. Then on the 3rd of June, he's in a trine with Pluto between the 3rd and 7th house. You know, that is really having fun with your partners in your local environment and your community. You're pulled into your community perfectly. You know, there's a conjunction between Jupiter and Mars on the 15th of August, on the 19th of August. Now, this is one that's coming up on the other side, actually. This is something to watch out for, Sagittarians, Sagittarian ascendants. These are the Jupiter square Saturns that are coming up this year. We've got one on the 19th of August, it's exact, and then one on the 24th of December, exact. And there's some tension between how you're living at home and the structures that you've built at home to make your home work, and then the freedom that you're experiencing with your partners and your relationship. So for instance, in a marriage, you may well find that your partner is really out there and really generous and gregarious and pulling you out of your home, which is unbalancing the security of your marriage and the way you are living. But you might also find, if you're the Jupiter partner, if you identify with that part, that you are feeling really expanded and then there's a partner pulling you back, or there's restrictions and responsibilities at home. So, you know, it's really pulling on this responsibilities for home and joy of being out there with your partners. So that's a very, very strong set of energies to work with. Now, Jupiter square Saturn is something that happens every 10 years or so, and it's happening 3 times, twice in 2024 and then another time in 2025. And these themes are just going to keep repeating. So try and get them done in August if you can. And then when they come up in December, you'll be like, oh, hello, old friend. I remember you, but not take it so personally. The last thing that I think is really important to bear in mind, and that is the energy between the opposition between Pluto and Mars at 29 degrees between Capricorn and Cancer. It's on the 3rd of November, but it's absolutely pulling at the energy between the 2nd house and the 8th house. Now, from your perspective, there are 2 money houses. One is your money that you've earned yourself, that you're very proud of earning. And then the other is everyone else's money and their responses and values towards it. So it feels like, you know, there is like, where is your survival? Because both Pluto and Mars are to do with survival. Pluto is about control. I must control things to survive, and I may well kill things in the process to make sure that I survive and other, you know, the thing that is challenging me doesn't. And then Mars is I need to thrive, I need to survive, and I will fight for it if I have to. And so you may well find that this manifests as some kind of family scrap over money or inheritance, or that this is a fight within yourself, and a fight within your relationship, and it's full of projections. You know, these parallel things, these things in polarity, are really difficult and are often felt at an individual projected level, on our intimate relationships, you know, within our families, within our communities, and so on and so forth. So just be really mindful about your money, what's yours, what's not yours, and also what you're prepared to concede and share on, and also what your no-go areas are as well. This could be quite difficult, but as with every aspect, this too will pass. But in the same light that the Jupiter square Saturns are coming up, we are also going to have, a couple of other Pluto opposite Mars energies, but they are in 2025. So again, if you can see this one coming in November, try and work with it as much as you can so that it doesn't wrong foot you. So there you go, Sagittarius. I hope that was helpful for you, and I hope you have a fantastic 2024. And if I can be of any help, you know where to find me, and I hope to see you and connect with you another time in one of these forecasts. Lots of love to you. Bye for now. So on to Capricorn then. Let's see what 2024 is bringing up for Capricorn. Now, this is in many respects going to be, I think, a deep sort of exhalation of, thank goodness, Pluto's out of my sign. Because you've had Pluto in your sign for 15 years. And that's a long time. To have Pluto going through your sign, in particular if you've got your ascendant in the sign of Capricorn, if you've got your sun or your moon. I know for like in my coaching practice, I have a higher level of Capricorn activity in my clients. Pluto really does bring about a feeling of insecurity, and it brings that feeling of, change is coming, and it often arrives as a bit of a whisper. We never quite know where that's coming from, but we have this sense that something is about to change. So anyway, I think, the first thing to say to Capricorns is well done. 2024 is shaping up to be a bit of a relief. Now, Pluto is going into the sign of Aquarius on the 21st of January 2024. He does transition back into I've forgotten when now. Let me just check on my notes. He does transition back into Capricorn. When is it? Crikey. I've got so many notes here. On September the 21st. But it's only for a couple of months, because on the 20th of November, he's back in Aquarius, and then he's in Aquarius for good, for the next 20 years. So you are getting Pluto off your back, but Pluto is going to be providing you with a few kind of last minute challenges, a bit like if you're about to go away, maybe on holiday, and you've packed everything, you've managed to get everything in your suitcase, you think everything's done. And then just as you're about to shut the door, you realize you haven't watered your plants, or, there's like always this like new extra challenge just to push you that little bit further when you're actually really tired. Obviously on a much more epic scale, because Pluto is not quite as pleasant as taking a nice holiday. But anyway, yeah. So Pluto into Aquarius is definitely a change. It's one of the best uplifts from a Capricorn ascendant perspective in 2024. It is that phew. Now, obviously, wherever Pluto goes, it brings with it some scrutiny. Something is up for a deep insight and deep transformation. So, although Capricorns are breathing a sigh of relief because it's out of that very personal area that really is symbolizing a deep personal change in terms of our identity, like how we see ourselves, what we know to be true about ourselves, what's at the core of who we are, what's our purpose, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and it's really quite relentless. Then Pluto goes into the second house, which, it's not so tightly wound around your actual identity, but the second house is about your money and your income. And I like to think of it as how you value yourself, because obviously there's lots of different ways we can be gifted. We can earn money like hard cash, but I think people are a lot more creative now in the way that they are working. It's certainly where I am in Portugal. People do earn money, and also there's a real sort of like gifting and swapping economy going on as well. And everyone's doing favors for each other. And so in many respects, it's how do you value yourself, and how well do you receive? Like in the culture I'm living in, people are very good at receiving because they're so used to being part of these tight family networks and these tight communities. So they're used to receiving, they're used to receiving from many different sources. But I think the second house, where there's a lot of discomfort, it's in these very sort of like Western lives where we've disconnected from each other, and there's not as much trust that we have in each other. And of course, Pluto is a planet that really does bring up trust issues. It's deeply suspicious. And so, one of the big challenges here in the second house is, how do you trust people enough to receive from them? Can you receive without feeling that sense of obligation? And what might it take to be able to let go of that? So yes, Pluto is out of a very sort of like slightly threatening place from a Capricorn ascendant perspective. However, it is going to be bringing with it a new set of dynamics. But I see that as still an uplift. This is this is going to be an interesting ride. Now Capricorn, now you've transformed your personality and you've been completely worked on. It's now time to go even deeper into your personality. So and Capricorn ascendants are pretty tough. You're able to deal with this, and you're quite practical as well, which will put you in very good stead. Another uplift that I really see is the Jupiter conjunct Uranus at 21 degrees in Taurus. So this is happening in a very creative area for Capricorn ascendants. It is likely to transform the way they think in terms of their passions and their talents. Capricorns are very talented. They're very good with their hands. And I also think, I know quite a few Capricorns very, very well. And, one of the things I've always marveled about them is their ability to delegate and manage people, manage projects. They seem quite fearless in many respects. So, if you're a very creative Capricorn, and you've got faith in yourself, and you've got a big project, I can absolutely see that Jupiter conjunct Uranus in this area could have you all of a sudden scale up your idea and, get loads of people on board, engage with everyone, manage everyone, make sure it's all like really good. You've got a real sort of talent for that. And that sort of goes hand in hand with the fact that Pluto is coming into your second house area about receiving money, about becoming wealthier. And of course, Pluto, one of the big themes of Pluto is, how do I get more powerful? How do I get more certain in life? So, if you are wanting more power, and you're translating that power through money, you see money as the route to that power, then, developing your talents and also getting a nice little workforce to help you with it could be absolutely on the ticket. Now, when Jupiter goes into Gemini on the 25th of May, I see that as being, again, it's helping your work. Jupiter, whilst it's not very happy in the sign of Gemini, in the 6th house, it's helping to expose where there might be flaws in the way that you work. And in terms of your energy, you may well find that you put too much energy into your work and expend more energy than you've really got. Obviously burning the candle at both ends, which is a bit of a Capricorn thing anyway. However, Jupiter is opening up the possibilities. And again, in that really quite fantastic way that they are able to pay to receive help. They're quite happy to have people do things for them. So, I think all it is a shuffling around of responsibility. So you might well say, okay, well, I need to do this. Which means I can't do this. Maybe I can't do my washing, and maybe I need to get my laundry done locally. So put your skills where they need to go, Capricorn, is my advice. I'm sure you're already thinking that far ahead anyway, because you've got one of those minds that does that. I love this Jupiter trine Pluto, connecting Pluto right at the start of your second house, right the way through to the start of your 6th house. I mean, this really could be a year for some kind of investment in something. If you've got a great idea that you've been working on, this could be the year that actually things start to take off. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing? So these are some of the big core uplifts that I'm seeing for you, Capricorn. Now, there are some challenges too. And here are the challenges that I think are most tricky for you, Capricorn. And that I think is just really a great opportunity for you. So it really starts like early in the late winter, leading us into spring. So the 19th of February, Chiron is in a conjunction with the North Node at 16 degrees in Aries, just down here. And then that leads into on the 8th of April. So it's quite a big lead time. It's, just shy of 2 months. But the next big step there is a total solar eclipse, new moon in Aries at 19 degrees. So there's a lot around this area. It's a very sensitive part of your chart, and it's highlighting the fourth house to do with your home, the harmony in your home, your family, everybody living at home, all the behaviors that go along at home, all the things that are private, where you relax. This is the core of who you are, really, the core of the machine of Capricorn ascendant here, so this is a place of sensitivity. Now, Chiron is the wounded healer. He brings us reminders of where we've got sore spots. And he's reminding you of sore spots from your childhood, because fourth house, childhood. And most of our wounds do come from childhood anyway. That's the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? From our parents, these things that we have to develop and we learn from and grow from, hopefully. So yeah, Chiron is there reminding you that you still have some sore spots in the family arena, and that some of the things that are going on in the family arena that maybe feel a little bit out of control, where you feel a little bit vulnerable, are triggering old memories in you and discomfort. Now, the North Node, which is in a conjunction with, is basically putting it right up in your face so that you cannot avoid it. You may well have found, because obviously the North Node's down here, the South Node's up here in this place of being professional and being away from home, and is where you stand in the world. And you do that so well. And right now you're really doing that well. It's almost like you've got some kind of pre-wonderfulness, like you were born with something, all those kind of skills that you've developed, maybe even forgotten about, are coming back and being used right now. And it's really effortless. It's absolutely in your muscle memory and your emotional, spiritual memory. But it does create issues at home. The fact that you are so willing to stand in the world and do stuff and create stuff and be seen and be successful and have status and get recognition and money, which is nice. It does create a hell of a tension back here at home, where you may well need to rebalance things. And you may find that one of the reasons why you're up in the outer reaches of your life, why you strive so much, might be because there is some hidden pain here. And right now, Chiron is coming there, the North Node, boom, slap in your face. I mean, this is to wake you up, to help you really see what's most important, all things considered. Like if your job was to fall apart, not that I'm willing that to happen, but if it was to just collapse all of a sudden, you would be absolutely back here on your own in the home. So this is a reminder to get things up straight. And the total solar eclipse new moon is creating change at home based on either getting over these fears and insecurities and dealing with them, or because maybe they're there for a reason and there is a need for some kind of change. So this is a big sort of energy at the start of the year. Now, the other two bits of trickiness that I think you need to be aware of is the Jupiter square Saturn. Now, it's an ongoing event, so it's exact for the first time in a long time, for the first time in about 10 years. It's exact on the 19th of August. 17 degrees in Gemini and Pisces. And then at the 24th of December of 2024, it's exact again, this time at 14 degrees Gemini and 14 degrees Pisces. Now, it will go exact again for a third time in 2025. So this is a theme that is repeating itself. So you might want to heed this a little bit and practice what's going on. So Saturn here is in your third house, creating maybe a bit of formality about the way you're interacting within the community, with what knowledge, etc. You're putting a lot of emphasis on knowing the facts of things, these like short form facts, like this plus this equals this. That doesn't necessarily translate into real world. I mean, it might be good in terms of economics, but it doesn't give you the context behind things. And then there's tension from Jupiter that's wanting to really express itself throughout its day-to-day work, and enhance itself. The 3rd and 6th house squares, I don't think are as painful as some of the other ones, but the tension is there all the same. So there is this desire to express through work, and to express and grow and create something. And yet there is tension and resistance from the local environment, or tension and resistance. Maybe you're not able to engage people in what you're pitching in quite the same way as you've been able to before. It almost feels like there's a lack of support for you to be able to expand and work on your big idea. So I would examine that, like, ask yourself, is this an old pattern? Is this something that keeps coming up? If so, what can I do right now to create a change? What can I do that would loosen that pattern just a little bit? And then what can I do in the next step to loosen it a little bit more? I wouldn't try and eradicate it in one go, because, this is, like I said, it's a recurring pattern in three strong tranches of this very exact aspect. But this aspect is going to be fading away and then coming back and fading away, like someone's playing this like cosmic Jupiter Saturn accordion. And so the sound is like coming in strong and then it's fading off and it's coming in again. So you want to play with that a little bit. Not the accordion. I think they should be thrown in the bin. Sorry if you're an accordion player. no real offense meant. Just voicing my opinion there. I've probably just upset somebody, but anyway, they're lovely instruments. So moving on. So anyway, Capricorn, that was my that's what I think you need to know for 2024. Hope you have a fantastic year ahead, and that I think this is going to be a successful one for you. I really do think these uplifts are for you. I think they're going to be very helpful. So there you go. Hope that's helpful, and hopefully we can connect in the near future in 2024, and I'll see you back here on this channel. Who knows? Anyway, lots of love to you. Take care. Bye for now. So let's move on now to Aquarius. So Aquarius, I was just like, giving congratulations to Capricorn, who's got this sense of relief right now because Pluto has come out of its sign. And I feel a bit guilty now because you have got Pluto going into your sign, not once, but twice, and for the last time. And this is an interesting time. This is a very deeply transformative time for you. 2024 is likely to really create some big shifts. Now, you might be aware of the shifts that you went through last March of 2023. I think, when was it? The 23rd, something like that, when Pluto went in last time, dipped his toe in, tried it out in Aquarius. Gave us a bit of a flavor. As you know, Saturn, one of your rulers, already went through Aquarius in recent history. And so, we've already got this kind of stern Aquarian energy that's been whipped up around the world in terms of censorship, diversity, ecology, and this, that, and the other. There's all these very big global initiatives going on right now. And, in many respects, Pluto, on a wider scale, is wanting to create control over Aquarian issues. And Aquarian issues might be humanitarianism, making sure everyone gets a chance, etc., etc. And of course, when we formalize anything, when we get formulaic, then does anyone really win? Who knows? I guess, it's unfair for me to call it at the moment. I know what I sense about that. But I guess we are all in this game together, and we're going to see, what transpires over this next 20-year period. But on a personal level, Pluto is coming into a very personal part of your chart right now. This is the part where your identity is there, your image, your body, and how that works, your structure. Your first impressions. It's a very, very personal place. Your boundaries, like, are people attacking you? Can you defend yourself? The first house is very, very instinctive. It's like that moment of being born. So Pluto is in some respects giving you a rebirth. And of course, you've probably heard some weird things about Pluto, and you've probably experienced Pluto in different guises. I mean, you've already had him go into your sign last March. And I do wonder what happened in those first few months. You know, did you notice any changes? Did you notice any frustration? And fears often arrive around that time, because Pluto is the god of the underworld. You know, he brings up our fears. He brings up our fears of inadequacy. He brings up our fears of survival, you know, that we're not good enough. And he moves it further and further and further until it absolutely gets into a massive old pickle for us. Lots of people get a little bit depressed or confused with Pluto, because it feels like very much like, you know, he's crushing you. Now, I realize I'm actually on the best uplift side of this, but I want to start actually on the biggest challenge, you know, because Pluto going into Aquarius on the 21st of January and then later on the 20th of November for good. You know, this is a big change. This is marking something very new, a new energy. You've not experienced this before, you know, apart from last March, you know, but in your whole, like the context of your whole life, this is a very new energy. Now, this is essentially creating a sense of change. You know, Pluto, if you think of Pluto as a phoenix, the phoenix energy, the phoenix bird, it rises from the ashes and it gets all beautiful and resplendent, and then it burns itself and it crumbles. It basically turns back into ashes, and then it resurrects again. That's very Plutonic, really, really a Pluto thing. And the whole idea of the reincarnation, the cycle, you know, so you're born, you grow, you mature, you age, you die, then you get recycled. I think Pluto is very much you die and get recycled and are reborn. I really see that Pluto represents that side of the cycle. Now, that sounds scary. I'm not trying to scare you, I promise. But it's also an opportunity, because Pluto is looking at all those things that need to die within your personality. So Pluto is going to get you really real with yourself, all those aspects of you that are fake, all those aspects of you that are pretend, all those aspects of you that are a compromise. Like if you've been living in compromise for a really long time, Pluto is going to be shaking you so hard, because you won't be able to live in compromise anymore. Anywhere where things aren't real, aren't really alive, Pluto slowly kills them, or sometimes fast. You know, he basically, situations come in via Pluto. Like Pluto is like the outer consciousness, and it might show up as a person in your life. It might show up as a situation in your life. It might show up as like a sound in your ear, like a whisper in your ear, like, it's not going to last, is it? And you're like, wow, where did that come from? And it's you talking to yourself, but you're just like, whoa, I never knew I sounded so flipping stern, you know. And you're just like, where did that, like, why would I say that to myself? But Pluto shows up in a different way, and he lets you know that he knows that something's not quite right. Like he lets you know that, that there is a side of you that needs to change. And you get this feeling that you're being observed in this game, in this fakery. And it's a really weird one, because I think the thing with Pluto is it's the death of the ego, the death of the individual. You know, Pluto kind of kills it all off. But in that death comes this rebirth, because all of a sudden there is space. There's space to breathe. There's space to be yourself. Because where there's something false, it weighs heavily on you. You know, it weighs you down. I no disrespect to anybody that is aging. You know, we're all going to age. I'm aging. We're all aging. You know, I notice people getting older and older. And isn't it weird how as people get older and older, they tend to get more like a caricature of themselves? It's almost like the weight of their personality, the weight of all their choices throughout life is just hanging off them. And it's like weighing them down on their shoulders. And, you know, as we get older, the weight of our opinions, our judgments and everything, it weighs us down. And I think Pluto is here to kind of cut that crap right off. It's just like, enough. Time for a clean break. Oh, and then when you take it off your shoulders, you're free. You can breathe, and there is a new possibility for you. Now, that is drastic. You know, if you're already comfy and cozy in your life, you probably don't want Pluto to come anywhere near your first house, but he's there nonetheless. And so in this next 20-year period, you know, you don't have to change straight away. I mean, we are all changing anyway, but Pluto will take his time like a bloody psychopath. You know, he'll take his time and help, you know, he's there. So anyway, I don't mean to scare you. You don't need to do anything right now, but it's just to let you know that if you are feeling like there are pressures and there's this sense that things might change and you're feeling slightly freaked out by it, well, that's because Pluto is coming into this area and we all feel it when it happens. I've had Pluto go over all bar my moon and Jupiter, but he's gone over my ascendant and my other planets. And not Saturn. So he's gone over Uranus, Neptune, my North Node, my Mars, my Venus, my Mercury, my Sun, in quick succession because of the shape of my chart. And it's pretty interesting. And you go through so much change, and the realizations are all yours. You own them at the end. You know, they are yours. It's hard-won experience. And I'm so glad I've gone through it because, you know, it's given me space. It's given me opportunity. So bless you. It's your turn now. And it's going to be one hell of a ride. It's going to be cool and interesting. Now, other things that are going on in terms of these challenges, on the 14th, so I realized that was a bit of a with Pluto. Now, this is Pluto, the god of the underworld, and Mars, the god of war. They are both the rulers of Scorpio, which they are both the rulers of your 10th house, by the way. So it's interesting that the two harbingers of career success and I guess your development in the outer world are right there at the start of your chart in the first house. So this feels like a very strong day where your personality is likely to be very strong and you might be forced to make very strong decisions, and it's okay. It's a really great day to do brainstorming about how you'd like to take over the world in your career, how you could develop your career, how you could enhance your personal power, how you can try and build some kind of safety in this really quite crazy world where there aren't any is anyone absolutely safe from anything? I mean, Mars conjunct Pluto may well make you feel a little bit vulnerable because you might be thinking, I want to get safe. And the realization that actually nobody's safe and we have to be okay with knowing that we're not really safe. That is, you know, something that is likely to come up at this time. The 19th of February is another time where we might be feeling a little bit sensitive. It's showing up in the third house. Chiron is in a conjunction with the North Node at 16 degrees in the sign of Aries. Chiron shows us where we're feeling a little bit wounded, where we're feeling a little bit sensitive. It's in the third house, reminding you that you might not know everything that you need to know. You might feel a little bit unprepared for what you're working on right now. And the North Node is there, also making sure it's something that you really feel in your face, like you cannot escape this. It does feel like it's really strong stuff for you, Aquarius, right? So this is something going on. And then it eases off quite considerably. There's a lot more exciting things happen, and I'm going to go to the exciting page in just a sec. Later on in the year, you've got another couple of things that I want to just to pay a little bit of attention to. So there's this Jupiter square Saturn, and that's going from Saturn in your second house. Now, you've had Saturn in your second house for a while now, since December the 21st, 2020. No, not right. No, sorry, that was in Aquarius. You've had Saturn in your house from the 11th or 12th of March last year, 2023. And he's in your second house, you know, for the rest of this year. And he is there to kind of get you to regulate your money a little bit better, and to realize that you can survive on a lot less than you're expecting. And to be just a bit sensible, you know, to get a bit of levity and parity with your resourcing needs. You know, he's getting everything very real for you right now. It's a time when we often get a bit exhausted. One of the things about the second house Saturn is that it reminds us, well, it gets us questioning our values, our true worth. And it could be a time when we start to doubt our true worth. And interestingly, Jupiter is going to be in the 5th house, expanding on our passions and all our talents and all our abilities. So it's a really weird one, because this square, as it turns out, is coming up on the 19th of August. It will be back on the 24th of December, and it will be back in 2025. But the thing is, it's not really easing off. You know, it's kind of there. It fades in and fades out. But this square in particular, it's you're not feeling quite confident in your abilities, even though your abilities are expanding exponentially. Your passion is so strong, and you might want to develop one of your ideas and then say, oh, I haven't got the money, I haven't got the resources, don't have the energy, I don't have the confidence in myself, you know. And it's really time to find a way beyond that. You might not have the money to invest in a new idea, but there might be other ways around that. You might be gifted, somebody might help you. You might not have the energy, but somebody might be able to help you with, there's always a solution. It's important not to let the Saturn side of it rule the decision making. Important to keep some of that Jupiter enthusiasm going. And then the last one that I really want to pull your attention to is the 3rd of November. The 3rd of November, there's an opposition between Pluto and Mars. So again, it's very similar to the Mars conjunct Pluto right here at the start of your chart, like really firing you up and making you really strong. This one is the opposite, and it's just dipped back into Capricorn and Cancer. So again, you've got Pluto here, very, very close to your ascendant, reminding you that there's a big change going on for you, and you are like swapping out your personality almost. It feels like there's a part of you that you're already letting go of because you realize it's too tight on you, and you're really wanting greater freedom, which is one of the motifs of Aquarius. So I do think you're going to be welcoming this time. Actually, you could choose to see it as a relief in some respects. And then Mars here at the 6th house is just kind of reminding you, it's so close to your descendant. Mars here is reminding you of all the hard work you've had to do to be able to survive, all the hard work that you've never been able to stop. And so it's a bit relentless, this opposition. All I would say is at this time, just remind yourself of how much you've done, how much you've achieved. You have weathered the storm every single day of every single moment of your life. You've done it, and you'll continue to until the day when you don't. And that's just one day. And the rest of the day you've survived. This is Pluto in opposition to Mars. It's going to draw you deep into like questioning your reserves, but it will ease off. And that's important to know. Now, onto the fun bit, because, there are some really, really fun bits, because this is massive energy that's being shifted right now. So the new moon in Aquarius is at 20 degrees. It's on the 9th of February. It's really, really bringing in some freshness. So this is bringing in some insight as to what you might want in your life right now. If I was in your shoes, listening to this and maybe panicking a little bit, I think I would also be quite curious as to what shifts I could make. The chances are you've already been realizing that there are changes that you're wanting to make. There are some things that aren't working out so well. And you're realizing that, you go down a particular route, and it feels like you've gone down that route so long that you can't make a different decision, because your whole life is based on this one decision you made like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Well, I'm here to remind you that you can always make a fresh decision. And this new moon in Aquarius on the 2nd of February is there to remind you that actually all you need to do is just take one decision. And you don't even have to make it a big decision, but if you choose the one decision that feels better in the moment, it will shift your trajectory ever so slightly. And then if you keep taking the next best decision, the one that feels good, the one that feels more motivating, the one that your heart is going yes to, and don't question that. If you keep taking the easy, positive, graceful route that feels intuitively better, you will be going through this change. You'll be facilitating the whole Pluto process. It's when you try and hold on to your life as it exists currently, because this is exactly how you want it to be. That's when Pluto gives you problems. So this new moon in Aquarius is giving you that sense of choice. I love that. So on the 21st of April, we've got Jupiter conjunct Uranus, another one of your rulers. This is huge. You know, it's creating change and space for you at home. It's creating that sense of opportunity and freshness. It feels like you need to change things at home. And to be fair, with Uranus going through this area for the last, 5 years or so already, you know, since 2017, I think. I might be wrong. I haven't. This is off the top of my head. You know, this is a huge sort of energetic shift. Has been going on in your fourth house for a really, really long time. Now, I think a lot of the changes have already been brought in, but Jupiter is now coming in to just say, ta-da, here it is. Here's the change. Get ready. So this is exciting. This could be revolutionary for you. This could really change the way you see yourself, the way you live, the way you choose to live. It could also be foretelling of a new home or a completely new country, you know, because there's a spirit of adventure and invention and expansion. It's all there. And then not long after, a month and a bit later, Jupiter goes into the sign of Gemini in your fifth house, which is all about your creativity and all the wonderful ideas that you can get passionate about and dream about. And then, yeah, not long after that, on the 3rd of June, we've got this lovely trine from 1 degree Pluto in your first to 1 degree Gemini in your fifth. Now, this is great because, you know, straight away, you know, Pluto has gone into your sign. And yes, he could be creating havoc, but actually there's happy havoc, there's passionate havoc, there's excitable havoc. You know, the havoc and the change and the inspiration is coming from Jupiter in your fifth house. So all the fifth house things could be becoming a reality. You know, Jupiter is there to build and birth things. You know, Jupiter is there for you to passionately decide to birth something. Could be a project, could be a child, you know, it could be your desire to, you know, be a pet mama or dad. You know, this is a place of intense joy and creative expression. And so, you know, one of the ways you can be changing right now and transforming with Pluto is through your creativity. So yes, all in all, I think 2024 is uplifting rather than challenging. I think it's absolutely changing the rhythm of your life in quite a primal way. Your life is unlikely to, you know, it's unlikely to stay exactly as it is right now. In fact, it will probably, and I don't like to talk so much in definites, to be honest, but having gone through Pluto going over my ascendant, over my sun, you know, over so many personal things and working with so many clients, the ones that hold their life together in exactly the same shape as their Pluto transit started it in, the exhaustion that they feel from trying to hold it absolutely steady. It's like being in a boat in a massive storm in the ocean and absolutely holding that boat absolutely still and steady. I mean, your nerves get shot away. So, you know, the best thing you can do is go with the flow and actually create the flow. You know, use your creative energy, use the sense of adventure that your Uranus and Jupiter aspects in this year ahead are promising. And make that your new reality. I really don't think you'll be disappointed. I think this is going to be one of these years that you'll remember for a long time. So anyway, Aquarius, I hope I haven't scared you too much. Forgive me if I have. But yeah, this is this is a new change. This is a new you coming in. So all the best for 2024. Much love to you and respect. And feel free to write comments underneath if you want to share a few thoughts about how you might be changing in this year ahead and, you know, over the next 15, 20 years or so. Anyway, lots of love. Speak to you soon. Bye for now. And on to the last, but by no means least, Pisces. I love working on your chart. I have to take breaks when I'm recording these 12 signs one after the other because yours is always at the end, and I try and do them in the right order because otherwise I get in a hell of a pickle and forget one. But you're always last, and yet you are one of the planets that one of the zodiac signs I really love and cherish reading for totally. So where should we start for 2024? Do you know what? I think I want to start with the challenging things first and to leave on all the uplifting things. So I've listed 5 uplifting things that are definitely coming. Like the energies are very, very strong in this year ahead. It's interesting because obviously you're ruled by Jupiter, and so Jupiter's changing signs this year. It's a big year for you. But Neptune is really coming to the end of Pisces. It's not just yet, but he's getting closer and closer to like going into Aries. But Jupiter and Neptune make this really magical connection, and it's one of the strongest aspects for you in this year ahead. Boy, it's a knockout. But anyway, let's start with the most challenging things in 2024 first. So the first thing I want to really bring to your attention is there's a lot of energy around your second house that is confronting in terms of your earnings, in terms of your value, in terms of what you're bringing into the world. Like, you know, how are you cutting it in the world right now? Do you feel like you're effective? Do you feel like you can put your feet up? Are you going to be able to retire? I'm not saying that to like make you feel awkward or not. Hopefully, you know, you're feeling comfortable with all the decisions you've made. But the second house, you know, when we've got pain in the second house or when we've got insecurity in the second house, it's kind of corrosive. It's undermining, you know, like the second house is about, you know, at some level, knowing that you can always earn the money that you need, that you can always receive the resources that you need to have a stable life. Slightly different to the fourth house where, you know, you've got the actual stability of the home, but you need the money to run the home. You might need the money for your healthcare. You might need, I mean, it's like knowing you've got the resources is important. And, you know, the insecurity of having Chiron going through this area it's reminding you of where you might be vulnerable because of not having enough. And the North Node coming this way through your second house is also bringing it to your attention to the fact that, you know, by the 19th of February, you cannot ignore it anymore. You know, it's in your face. Anywhere where you feel insecure about it, it's going to come up. Now, there are loads of different ways you can do it. And, you know, there are so many people that are brilliant with money that just understand it. And for them, it's just not an issue. They're just like, oh, well, you just make sure you put aside this much, you know, and they just see it in a really matter of fact way and without any triggering. Now, that's the key point. Anywhere where we've built something up into a massive problem, it's really difficult to then sit down and just sit with the facts, recognize that, yes, you might be vulnerable. And actually, when you look at it, you might realize you're not vulnerable. You might just realize, actually, I'm better off than I thought, but that you'd spun it into a big story and a big situation. So what I would really advise you to do, first of all, is just sit with the situation, like review all of the options and sit with it. You don't have to go and see a devisor or anything just yet, but just get really calm with the fact of how much you're bringing in, how much you're spending, see the facts of it. And not the drama of it. Get yourself into the most resourceful place of thinking. Now, at the same time, the second house is about how we value ourselves. So, you know, how do we see ourselves? You know, do we think we're of value? Do we think we're enough? So, you know, that is also important. Now, nestled within both of these is an inability to receive. So there are some people who don't earn as much as you and who seem to have a much more comfortable life than you. We're always going to find people like that. And there are people who marry wealthy people who are gifted things from strange relatives. There's always going to be somebody who's got a slightly happier story of finance anyway. That doesn't mean that they're happier in their hearts or their souls, but hopefully they are. I don't wish anyone any malice, but the whole idea here is that if you can learn how to receive and be really open to receiving without feeling any pain, any obligation that is painful. It's a weird one because, oh crikey, I've got a cat crawling across my desk. This is not going to go well because this cat has a habit of turning off my sound and all sorts and stepping on buttons. You stay there, okay? So yeah, receivership. it's really important that you learn to receive, and think about all the barriers that you have against receiving. Were you once upon a time told off for taking too much? Were you once upon a time told you weren't worth this, that, or the other? Think of all the stories, explore them. Wherever there's pain, there's drama, and that is feeding into your situation right now. So that's something to really work on. Receivership, practice. Oh God. No. Practice receiving good. Practice. God, these cats. Practice enjoying receiving money. That's your challenge. If I gave anyone a mission, this would be the most important mission for you. On the 8th of April, there's also a total solar eclipse, a new moon in Aries on at 19 degrees. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted by this cat, but I don't want to stop. So this new moon and total solar eclipse is bringing a lot of this energy back into your reality, to the point where you have to take some action. So see if there's some kind of action you can take before that point. Once you've got used to the fact that you might need to work on your receivership, it's like a message to you to take action on bigger goals. So really this is where there's a lot of area to transform in this year ahead. Now, the other thing that I really wanted to bring to your attention is the square between Jupiter and Saturn. So the first one is happening on the 19th of August. There's another one on the 24th of December. The first one's at 17 degrees in Gemini and Pisces. The December one is at 14 Gemini and Pisces. But essentially, it goes from your first to your fourth. So in your first house, you've obviously got Saturn there currently. Saturn in your first house is showing where you're restricting your personality somewhat. And Jupiter down here in your fourth house is showing where you're trying to expand at home. You're trying to expand how you feel at home. You're trying to expand that feeling of safety. And yet at the same time, you're restricting your personality somewhat with Saturn in your first house. So it's a bit of a challenge. You might need to put a bit of brain power to that and see how that's showing up for you. But it's a pattern that is likely to continue really from August right the way through to 2025, when there's a third Saturn Jupiter square picking up on the same themes. So whatever comes up for you around mid-August, in terms of the tension between you expressing yourself and being you, whilst also expanding through family, that's something to pay some attention to. But anyway, on to the fun stuff. So the last bit then, first great uplift for you is on the 10th of March, when there's the new moon in Pisces at 20 degrees. This is here. It's a great moment. It's one where you can invigorate the idea of who you are. Maybe you could create yourself as somebody who receives a lot and who is absolutely attractive to people, like receiving compliments, receiving coffees, receiving all sorts of different helpful things. Create yourself in a different way. Now, if you have it that, you're a really nice person, you're really kind, you're always helping other people, you're not creating the possibility for yourself to be helped and supported. So create the possibility that actually you rock and people love to help you. In fact, people can't help but help you, So work on this sort of identity for yourself, or something even better. On the 21st of April, Jupiter, your ruling planet, or one of them, is in a conjunction to Uranus. It's here in the third house. It's going to help you express your ideas and your vision for your future based on this new identity that you've got for yourself. Things could move very fast. Things can really change in your community. The third house is where you get support from your local community and friends and things like that, and siblings and peers and stuff. So use this to your advantage. This is a really great moment of uplift. And then this is beautiful. This one here. This one here. Jupiter sextile Neptune, both of your rulers in a beautiful exact sextile. It's like motivating you. It's making you feel yummy. It's making you feel kind of excited, supported, like in a kind of spiritual bliss. There's this feeling that things are changing and things are okay. It's a really nice feeling. And that feeling leads into Jupiter going into the sign of Gemini on the 25th. It's not the strongest sign for Jupiter to be in, but Jupiter's going into your fourth house. He's there to bring you a bit of joy, a bit more warmth at home. So I really do think as you're changing yourself and able to receive more, Jupiter could be bringing you a new way of living, could even be bringing you a new house, because he's like one of your rulers, and he's a pretty important, like he's the ruler of your 10th and your first. So he wherever he goes, he's going to your fourth now. It's a big deal for you. This could absolutely bring about a new address. And then on the 3rd of June, Jupiter's in a trine to Pluto. So Pluto has gone into the 12th area. That's really bringing up some very deep thoughts, and that's likely to continue right the way through the next 20 years, Pluto in your 12th. It really does bring up a sense of what's hidden. And so with this beautiful trine, I think there's going to be some hidden patterns to do with home, how you live, how you relate to people, that could actually really help you in terms of making your home an even safer and more secure place. So there you go, Pisces. I hope that's helpful for you in 2024. I just think it's a really quite exceptional year for you. Yes, there are some challenges, in particular around receivership, but actually the Jupiter energy is just perfect for you, and that connection with Neptune on the 23rd of May is just delightful, utterly delightful. So there we go. Stay in touch, Pisces. You know where I am. All my details are below if you need to chat or anything. So thank you so much to everybody who has listened in to my 2024 forecast. Yes, it's taken quite a long time, but it's the start of a new year, and I think it's important that we get some ideas as to what's going to be easy, what might be a bit more challenging, and so on and so forth. I have, as I've mentioned before, created the 2024 overview, which really goes into a lot of detail about all of these aspects that I've mentioned throughout all of these 12 signs. But anyway, have a fantastic 2024. And if I can be of any help to you in the future, then just get in touch. My email address is below. It's louisatannermunson@gmail.com. You can also reach me through my website. I'm taking a month holiday at the moment, but my website is www.feelgoodastrology.com. I'll be back working it again from February. So anyway, lots and lots of love to you. Have a fantastic 2024, and hopefully stay connected. Lots of love. Bye for now.